podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. Yes, indeed. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, October 10th, 2021. This is episode 1836. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Udacity. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with the code TWIT75, limited time offer. And by Userway.org. Userway ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. And by Wealthfront. To start building your wealth and get your first $5,000 managed free for life, go to wealthfront.com/techguy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. Yeah, it's Tech Guy time. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you want to talk high tech with me. That's the way to do it. 888-827-5536. That's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach me, but you got to do it from a Skype or something like that, some voice over the internet program that will let you call a toll-free number in the U.S. It's still because it's toll-free, should cost you nothing. 888-827-5536. Now, when you hear something on the show and you go, I wish I could remember that, or worse, that's making me hopping mad, you can handle that there by going to the website, Techguylabs.com. That's the place where you can see what was on the show. James DeRuvo, our official scribe, writes it down as we do it, adds the links and so forth. But then we also add audio and video from the show afterwards, so you can really relive that moment in time. And if you got a better idea, or you think you could do better, or you're just mad, leave a comment. You can do that too. All of that is free. There's no sign up. With the comments, we ask you to log in through a Twitter, Facebook, Google, something account, just so that we want to slow down spammers, basically. But we don't collect any of that information. Techguylabs.com. That's the most important thing for you to know. That's where you can find what you hear on the show. Early reviews are now in for the iPhone 13. Came out last week. Well, it came out 2 weeks ago. People started getting them last week, and I think very happy is the bottom line. Is it a big difference? No. And so we've been talking a little bit about this over the last month or so, whether you should say get a new iPhone every year. No, probably not. Not only is it expensive, well, maybe it isn't expensive because Apple has a deal where it's basically, you just pay a monthly fee and you get the new iPhone whenever it comes out. As long as you don't break your iPhone, I think that's probably a good deal. But it's also wasteful. And again, less so because Apple takes those and sells them on to other people who, don't mind a little bit of slightly used phone. But I think mostly it's no point because the technology has not improved all that much. My wife wanted the new iPhone. She was having trouble with her iPhone 12. Got her the new iPhone 13. So I've had a kind of head-to-head comparison. She loves it. She's really happy. The pictures are great. It's got some nice cameras. She got the Pro Max, which has the top-of-the-line cameras. She says, more reliable, is noticeably faster. It's about, according to benchmarks, about 10% faster. Although that doesn't really do it justice because Apple's not, at this point, they make their own chips, right? Both for the iPhones and the iPads and now for the Macs. And so they can tweak the chip capabilities. And what's interesting in the iPhone 13, they're really tweaking it for efficiency. So the way the iPhone chips work, it's really actually quite clever. They have multiple cores. Every processor these days, multi-core. When we couldn't make the chips any faster, there's kind of this 4 gigahertz ceiling. Any faster than that, there's problems. So they couldn't make them much faster. So what they did is they gave you more of them. And then the operating system or the programs you use are supposed to be smart enough to divvy up the job and say, well, you do that, you do that, you do that, and they have a faster result. There's some things that doesn't really speed things up with, but there's some things that do. So we sometimes talk about single core performance for games and other things that really don't use those extra cores. And we talk about multi-threaded or multi-core performance. So when you see those terms, that's what that is. One core versus all the cores. In the iPhones, they have multiple cores, two different kinds of cores. They have what they call performance cores that throw efficiency to the wind. They say, we're going to go as fast as we can, and the heck with battery life. And then they have high efficiency cores that say, no, hold on, wait a minute. We don't want to, we're going to get this job done in a reasonable amount of time without killing the battery. And of course, it's really important on mobile devices, whether it's a laptop or a phone, or a tablet. You don't want to, you want good battery life. So what's interesting about this new A15 chip, the chip that's in the new iPhone, the new iPad mini, will probably be kind of the ancestor of the chip that'll be in the next Macs, which should come out this month or next. I think next month at this point. Those new, and that new processor, their Macs are on the M1, which is really an A14, A14X maybe. The next ones will be on the M1X or the M2, and they'll be based on the A15. But what's great, Apple makes these chips, they can say, oh, let's, that's a desktop. We don't have to tweak the efficiency at all. Things like that. Actually, they still do. Because efficient also means cooler, and cooler is important for any computer. Heat slows you down in the long run. What we're seeing, though, is these high efficiency cores in the new iPhone are really fast. So what Apple's been able to do is tweak the speed of you would nominally say are the low power cores to give you better performance. A lot of what you do on an iPhone, you don't need super fast performance if you're not gaming. There's some, so it uses the efficiency cores to save battery life. The end result is these new iPhones feel very snappy. That's what my wife says. She says, this feels very snappy. And the battery life's amazing. Now, of course, the bigger the phone, the better the battery life anyway. So the Pro Max has like incredible battery life. And the Mini, which was weak before the iPhone Mini, was weak with the iPhone 12. It didn't have great battery life. Now it has pretty good battery life. So it's interesting to watch a company kind of look at what customers are saying and optimize in a direction that makes sense. I think, honestly, the battery life is great on my iPhone 12 Pro Max. I forgot to charge it last night. When I got up, still like at 80%. So, that's fine. Nevertheless, if battery life's important, you might look at the iPhone 13. For everything else, it's a little better. The camera's a little better, things like that. Cinematic mode, if, I don't know, you want your home videos to look like they were made by Hollywood. Okay, maybe, yeah. I don't usually, I'm not a big plugger. Marketing is not my strong suit. I should be better at this. But I want to give a plug to my son because I'm very proud of little Hank Laporte. Not so little. His TikTok has taken off. And he does cooking TikToks. Actually, he's on Instagram, too. His cooking TikToks are salt_Hank. I said, Hank, that's a terrible name. Nobody could type the underscore. It's 3 key presses on a phone. He says, no, I don't care. I'm doing it. Salt_Hank. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because by the end of this week, he will have 1 million followers on TikTok. So I'm pretty proud of him. His videos routinely get millions of views. His most viewed video right now on TikTok is a delicious-looking lamb burger. Juicy, dripping with goodness, 40.8 million views. Somebody likes the lamb burger. So anyway, I'm not a big plugger for myself. I'll plug my kid, right? And at first I thought, TikTok, come on. Hey, come on, you can do better. Why are you doing the TikTok? You do, but you know what? People probably laughed when I said, I'm going to be a podcaster, right? What are you talking about? Stay on the radio. Don't do podcasts. Who ever heard of them? Now, by the way, I started doing podcasts in 2005. 15, 16 years later, a lot of old-time radio guys are calling me saying, how do I do podcasts? Because this radio gig is... So what do I do? Radio's fine. I love radio. Still doing radio, as you might notice. But I'm the last person who should say to my son, oh, don't do this new media stuff. Oh, what is this TikTok? What are you talking about? That's what the generations do, don't they? Cut your hair. Stop playing that rock and roll. That kind of thing. I can't really complain anymore. 1 million followers. That's pretty good. 40 million views of a video. That's network television territory. That's pretty darn good. So I'll just shut up now, Hank. Let you do your thing. And if you're interested, if you like watching 20-second cooking videos, because they're short, right? They're real short. Salt_Hank on TikTok or Instagram. There, I gave you the plug. All right, 8888 Ask Leo. He didn't ask me. I can't resist. You know, you're proud of your kids, right? 8888 Ask Leo. Hello, Sam Abuelsamid. You're in here a little early today.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
I'm good. Did you see that? Who was it was trying to get into the Tesla FSD beta? Wasn't you?
Dr. Mom.
Dr. Mom, but also somebody else. Maybe, I know it was. It was Seth Weintraub over at Electric. And he turned on the thing, and he said he was only getting 96% good driver, and you need 100 to get him.
That was 91.
Yeah, he's not. I think 91's pretty good, but he couldn't. He wouldn't.
Yeah, but for the what you need for people that are evaluating this stuff, you actually want closer to 100%. I know, the training that the safety drivers at, companies like Waymo and Argo and Cruise go through is really quite extensive, and they get monitored very closely. They before they ever get into a vehicle that is operating autonomously, they're going through a minimum of 6 weeks of training.
Yeah.
And then when they're in the vehicle, there's two people in the vehicle. The one behind the steering wheel is focused on nothing but watching to make sure.
Really? Wow.
Take over. Yeah.
Wow. It's a big deal.
They're not looking at any data, not doing anything else.
So he finally rolled it out. They held it back, but 1,000 owners have 100% scores. And he finally rolled it out, midnight on Friday. Have we heard of any issues yet?
I haven't heard. I mean, well, no more than all the issues we've been hearing about for the
usual,
years.
Just the usual.
They started rolling out beta.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not something that should be considered self-driving.
Right.
It's an gradually improving driver assist, but it's not self-driving. It is nowhere close to being good enough to take the human out of the loop.
Yeah. And Starlink's coming out of beta as well, which is cool. Uh-huh. Elon's firing on all no cylinders. Zero cylinders.
No cylinders.
Both motors.
That's what I was doing on Thursday and Friday, is firing on no cylinders.
What were you driving?
The Mach-E GT.
Oh, I forgot. Okay.
Yeah, got in Thursday afternoon. We drove from Sausalito out to Point Reyes, and
was it fun?
And back along PCH. Oh, I can't talk about the driving impressions till tomorrow. It's under embargo till tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Eastern.
Curses. Well, we'll talk about it then. Curses. Oh, no, I didn't choose this either.
Laura, you just have to look in the chat and see what she said.
She's a super freak. It's Kim Schaffer, our unbreakable phone angel. Hey, she's super freaky. No, you're not. You're sedate.
Pretty tame.
Practically sedate. Practically a librarian.
Oh, well, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But close.
Kim is the fine person who answers your call when you call 8888 Ask Leo. She's the person who picks up, helps you. Now, don't take this amiss, but she helps you hone your question, right? We don't have time for 4-hour questions, obviously. It's a 3-hour show. So she helps you hone your question and then prepares you, slicks down your, cowlick and stuff like that.
I need to do my own.
Yeah. She hasn't done mine either. Who should I talk to?
Let's hop across the pond.
Oh, yes.
And go to Ed in the UK, who might be able to help. I believe the person who couldn't put their email address in when he wanted to order a pizza.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing.
I think that's the one he's addressing.
His email address, he would start typing just the first 2 letters. It would say invalid. Invalid.
Like,
Can't
no,
do
it's
it.
my email
What?
address.
Wait.
I've had
And
it
it
for
would
20
work.
years.
It would work on some sites, not on others, but it was different computers it happened on, so we know it wasn't the computer. It was very strange. Well, good. Let's see what Ed has to say. Thank you, Kim. Hello, Ed. We're in the UK.
Down in Gosport, which is near Portsmouth on the south coast.
Very nice.
So you went to Southampton on your cruise trip once?
Yeah, I've been to Southampton.
Near there.
Yeah. So you're near the White Cliffs of Dover.
They're a bit further along, but kind of that general area.
Yeah.
Kind of relatively close compared to where you are anyway.
So, Ed, have you had this weird email thing happen to you?
Well, I've seen there's a kind of growing trend on some websites that I think it was Mike might be experiencing, where you start putting in some letters of the email address and it says invalid email address straight away.
It's exactly what happened.
2 letters in, so it's not a valid email address at that point. And he said that if he pastes in his entire email address, it works. So I think what he's experiencing is just these websites where it says it's invalid until it's valid.
Oh.
All he has to do is just carry on.
Keep typing. Just keep typing.
Yeah, and keep typing until he gets the whole address. And I think it should work.
Why didn't I think of that? So I understand it because, and you might be a little bit of a coder yourself, Ed. It sounds like you understand what's going on. When you type things into forms, there is code, JavaScript usually running in the background to make sure, it's a real phone number. You've had that experience where you type a phone number and it says, hey, don't type the dashes or do type the dashes or too many letters, things like that. But that ideally runs after you complete the form. And it sounds like these sites are checking every letter as you type, which is a bug. That's a bug. Yeah,
I think it's just a growing trend to sort of, now you've got Ajax and things to try to do things on the fly.
Right.
It's doing it and it makes it.
I never really thought about how would you know that the person has completed the form? I guess when they tab or click on the next form, then you can validate the form you just filled in. That would be the right way to do it.
Yeah, but I have seen quite a lot of websites now where it says invalid until it's valid.
The whole time. But no, now I'm saying it's a bug, but maybe it's intentional. It just seems like it's a bad idea.
Yeah, it's probably not the best because you do get users that might not understand, but if you just keep on going, it'll work.
Ed, thank you. You were sitting there listening to the show last week and going, I know. I'm glad you figured it out.
Put it on the Tech Guy website for an answer for that anyway, so hopefully...
Oh, thank you. Bless you. Well, I appreciate your listening.
And I appreciate your podcast. I've been listening since about 2007, so it's nice to say thank you personally anyway for...
Wonderful. Thank you, Ed.
All of those.
Nice to meet you. Next time I'm in Southampton, I'll wave. Wave at Gosport. Thank you, Ed. Take care. Mike on the line from Burnville, Minnesota. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Leo.
We just traveled 4,000 miles in a blink of an eye. How you doing?
Pretty good. We're going to be traveling out of the country, and I'm not real up on VPNs because we're going to be staying in a hotel for a while, with the quarantining and all that stuff. But I mean, we want to be able to watch like our Sling or Disney Plus.
Yeah.
The stuff through our Apple. I've got the Apple TV Plus app or whatever on the iPad.
Yeah, but it will see if you are in Budapest, it will say, oh, you can't watch this because you're not in the U.S. Even if you've got, sometimes sites are smart enough to say, well, you're logged in, you're an American user, you use American credit card, so we'll let you do it even if you're out of the country. But sometimes not. Where are you going?
Philippines.
Nice. How fun. And you have to sit in a hotel for how long?
Well, it started out 9 days, but now it's down to 5.
Oh, good. Whew. Still frustrating, but I guess worth it. So most VPNs will allow you to pick a location anywhere in the world. And when you do that, when you, for instance, pick a location in the U.S. and you're in the Philippines, from the point of view of Netflix or Apple TV or whatever, it will look like you're in the U.S. at that point. Some sites are so anti-VPN. The one that comes to mind is the BBC iPlayer, because they really want to limit it to people who pay the license fees in the UK, that they will actually try to figure out if you're on a VPN. There really aren't any, there's no giveaways, there's no clues in your traffic, just the IP address. And so VPNs that don't rotate their IP addresses regularly will get caught. You know, BBC will say, oh, I know that address. And I don't know if Apple does this or not, but they might. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, I know that address. That's a VPN. We aren't going to let you use it. But some VPNs will rotate it effectively enough that that's not an issue. You want to look for a VPN that says specifically, you know, we'll let you stream content from other countries. Bypassing geographic restrictions is what they often call it. It's not, I think the BBC would say that's illegal. It's a violation of our terms of service. Netflix does not, for instance. I don't know what Apple TV's position is on this. In fact, if anybody listening has used their U.S. Apple TV account overseas, let us know if there's any issue at all. But I think it's important to choose a good VPN. A lot of VPNs are a little shady. Some of them are worse than the thing that they're supposedly fixing. Hang on. I'll give you the name of our sponsor. But I have to take a break. Abuelsamid coming up. Car Guy right after this. We use ExpressVPN, and that works quite well with remote, overseas locations because they do rotate their IP addresses quite frequently.
Do you recommend me taking my actual Apple TV box, or just use the app on my iPad?
Yeah, the box is challenging. When you get out of the hotel, is problematic because you have to put the box on the hotel's Wi-Fi. That's not easy because the Wi-Fi usually depends how they do it, but usually it's what they call the capture, and which means that you get, before you can use the Wi-Fi, a pop-up page. And Apple does a good job of that, but I don't know how well the Apple TV does. I think if using the app is probably the best thing. Bring a nice iPad with you, and you can just watch it on the iPad. Probably as good as the TV in a hotel anyway.
I know I texted with Scooter X beforehand, and he did say that Sling does work in the Philippines.
Perfect.
So that'll help.
Yeah, and Apple TV somebody's pointing out in the chat room that Apple TV is all original content, and so they don't have these licensing issues. So probably it's not an issue. The other thing you could do that is maybe even easier for travel is to get a travel router that has VPN built in. And then what you do, and I bring one of these with me. This is from a company called Tiny Hardware Firewall at tinyhardwarefirewall.com. You plug this into your computer via Ethernet, or you can use Wi-Fi, and then you give it the credentials for the Wi-Fi. It handles the capture, the login and all that. And now, once this is set up, this little device is set up, it's going to take the hotel Wi-Fi, clean it up, in effect, put it in, then you put your computer on it, or you can have it be a Wi-Fi access point. And then it also, the ones from Tiny Hardware Firewall have built-in VPN and Tor, so that they will also give you that capability. And it's all done kind of transparently, so you don't have to, you can have all the devices in the room using this instead of the hotel's Wi-Fi, which I kind of like.
Is there a monthly charge for that type of thing?
There is, because you're subscribing to their VPN, which is Hotspot VPN. So, but I think you can get the hardware and a year together for like $99. I'm trying to remember, but go to Tiny Hardware Firewall and look at it. When I do a lot of travel, like when I was on a cruise ship, we use this. When I do a lot of travel, this is a good solution. You don't have to use the VPN or the Tor. You could just use it as a travel router. there's a security advantage to that too, because this is the thing that's on the public Wi-Fi, not your computer. So this is the thing that'll get attacked. It's like having an extra router with you. A little bit of a slowdown of the VPN, so it may not be ideal for watching video. I haven't tried it that way. But that's another option, is a travel router. A lot of companies make these. Netgear makes them. What's this one? GLINet. Snick is putting in the chat room. I haven't seen that one, but that's another one. Travel router is a nice thing to have with you, honestly. Because then after you get out of the hotel, you're going to stay in a house?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you'll have good Wi-Fi and all that stuff. Oh, yeah, look at this. They sell the same GLINet. This is not from them. This is from Tiny Hardware Firewall. Oh, OpenW. Oh, look at that. This is an OpenWT-RT router. That's nice. So this is a travel router. Huh. $49 on Amazon. This is the 750M. I've used it. Yeah, it's nice. It has dual Wi-Fi radios, so you can pick up the Wi-Fi and transmit the Wi-Fi. How long are you going to be there?
6 weeks.
Nice. So 5-day quarantine, big deal.
Yeah.
Have a great trip.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, since you're in the chat room, you'll have some other places. I'm sure they'll have some other recommendations for you. The Tech Guy Show brought to you today by Udacity. Oh, I love Udacity. Created by a Googler because they needed people with the skills. Even if they had a computer science degree, they needed some special skills they couldn't get anywhere else. So Udacity offers you an online education program that's geared towards people who want to work in tech or just want to take their tech knowledge to the next level. Their nano-degree programs are awesome. Udacity is really here to create and encourage your career growth. They want to provide you with what you need to know about the career you want, give you the skills you need, and then help you get the job. And don't let the pandemic stop you from improving your skills either. This is the perfect time to do it. One Udacity graduate lost his job. He was working at an airline, COVID-19, laid off. He decided to turn things around for himself, applied for the Machine Learning Scholarship Program from Microsoft Azure. Got the scholarship. Within 6 months of receiving it, he transitioned into a career as a data analyst and is very happy working. Udacity's top 5 nanodegree programs are data engineering, product manager, data analyst, data scientist, and programming for data science with Python. But there are nanodegree programs in all kinds of things. AI, flying cars, autonomous flight engineer, intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, robotics software engineer, and more. And if you're a business that needs to get your team upskilled, if you want your team to master cutting-edge technologies like data science and AI and cybersecurity, check out Udacity for Enterprise. You can upskill your entire workforce in a real-world project-based learning environment. They've got an enterprise section at udacity.com. Check it out. In fact, get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. Go to udacity.com/twit right now for 75% off any program when you use the offer code TWIT75. I love Udacity. Project-based learning developed in partnership with Microsoft and Google and IBM and Amazon and more. You're learning from the best. You're doing the good work. You're getting the jobs, and they help you do all three. Udacity.com/twit. Don't forget, TWIT75 for this limited time offer, 75% off any program. Udacity. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Sam Abuelsamid is on the line. He is our car guy, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. His podcast, Wheelbearings.media, is all about cars, and he joins us each week to talk about automobiles. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing just dandy.
What's up?
Spent some time this past week driving the new Ford Mustang Mach-E GT.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I can't share my driving impressions until tomorrow.
I thought it might be a secret. Oh, good. Yeah, I can't wait to find out. That's the fancy high-end version of my electric vehicle, the Mach-E, which I love. But this one has more torque, more horsepower, bigger engines.
More torque, more power. The Mach-E that you have, it has a larger motor in the rear and a smaller motor in the front.
Yeah.
So for the GT, they replaced the smaller motor with the same larger motor that's on the rear axle.
Yeah.
So it's got 480 horsepower, 600 foot-pounds of torque in the base GT model, and then if you get the performance edition, you get 630 foot-pounds of torque. And it'll run 0 to 60 in about the same time as a Shelby GT500, but does it a lot more quietly.
I can't wait to hear your impressions. Embargoed till tomorrow, so you won't talk about it today, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
What's up?
Well, before I flew out to San Francisco on Thursday morning to drive that Mach-E, I went to the GM Tech Center on Wednesday. They had an investor day where they had a whole bunch of presentations. And over the course of the past couple of weeks, they made a bunch of announcements. But there was some interesting stuff that came out of the investor day presentations. One of which, well, first of all, for anybody that's interested in electric pickup trucks, Mary Barra, the CEO and chair of GM, will be doing an opening keynote for CES in January. And during that keynote, they will be revealing the upcoming Chevy Silverado electric, which will reportedly have a range of over 400 miles in the top battery version.
There's a lot of competition in the pickup truck sector. That's interesting. Yep. Rivian came out. Ford, of course, with their Lightning, the F-150.
Just started shipping.
Yep. And then
Rivian just started shipping trucks to customers, although apparently they are prioritizing production of the Amazon delivery vans over the consumer trucks.
Amazon's a big investor. That's why. Yeah.
Their goal is to try to deliver at least 300 of the Amazon vans from the factory by the end of the year. They've got about 3 dozen now that are running that were built at their tech center, hand built at their tech center. They're going to start building them on the assembly line. And the goal for them is to get 10,000 of those to Amazon by the end of next year for Amazon's fleet. But there's also the F-150 Lightning that's coming in the spring, the Hummer EV, which is more of a niche product, that's coming this fall as well. There's the Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra, and then 2024, Stellantis is bringing out a Ram 1500 electric. So, and someday there might even be a Tesla Cybertruck.
A Tesla battle truck ready to go into battle. Yes.
But the other big piece of news that came out of the investor day is what GM's calling Ultra Cruise, and GM executives have hinted at this product a couple of times over the last couple of years during various presentations, but never provided any details. This week they finally did. So this is their next generation hands-free driver assist system. It's coming in 2023, and the current Super Cruise system that they have, that you and I have both driven, is limited to use on divided highways. So right now you can use it on about 200,000 miles of divided highways across North America. And once you get off the highway, then you have to take over full control again. Ultra Cruise will be able to drive at launch, they're saying, on about 2 million miles of roads, which includes urban and suburban roads, basically all kinds of roads in addition to highways. And we'll have a lot more functionality. You'll be able to, put in your navigation destination. So in this way, it's similar to Tesla's Navigate on Autopilot functionality, where you put in a destination and it will make all the turns, and or at least with Tesla's, I believe it's still just on-ramp to off-ramp, unless you have the FSD beta, which you can put in your destination. It does all the turns. Ultra Cruise will do that. So you'll be able to go basically driveway to driveway, or driveway to work, or
they say
wherever.
95% of all the roads in the U.S. they'll be covered. Does that mean they've mapped those roads, or what does that mean?
So it's 95% of driving scenarios, not 95% of the
driving scenarios. What the hell does that mean?
4 million miles of roads in the U.S.
Driving
paved
scenarios.
Roads. So about half of those will be available at launch, and then they're going to gradually increase that up to about 3.5 million miles.
So the way they've been doing it is that they map it ahead of time, right? Are they going to continue to do that?
Map it ahead of time.
Okay.
And use the sensors to augment GPS, because GPS isn't precise enough. So you use the sensors to localize where the car is. The maps will know where all the static features are around the road, and you can triangulate from those features to get much more precise localization down to less than an inch positioning, which is much better than you can do with GPS right now. They're also going to, among the other improvements to the system over Super Cruise, it will be GM's first consumer vehicle to have LiDAR. It's going to have a LiDAR sensor developed by a company called Septon at launch. And they've got a new LiDAR sensor that should be well under $500 when they're in volume production in a couple of years. And this is something we're seeing a lot more of on a lot of vehicles. Mercedes is launching a couple of vehicles this year with LiDAR. Honda is offering a vehicle in Japan with LiDAR. The Lucid Air has LiDAR. So we're going to see a lot more of this going forward on these types of systems. Now, Ultra Cruise is still not a self-driving system. It is a driver assist. It's still level 2. So you still have to keep your eyes on the road, but you don't have to put your hands on the wheel. You can sit back, watch the road, and the system should be able to navigate you through most scenarios. But about 95% of the driving scenarios. There will occasionally be instances if perhaps if there's a construction zone that has just popped up that it doesn't quite know what to do with, it'll ask you to take over, things like that. But in most other scenarios, it will be able to, or should be able to, guide you to your destination without you touching the steering wheel.
Is it going to be the case that all new cars will have some sort of driver assist like this, or only the expensive ones, I guess?
No, it's going to be more and more ubiquitous. Our forecasts at Guidehouse, by mid-decade, probably about 60 to 70% of new vehicles will have at least some sort of level 2 system, or level 2 or level 3 system, and by the end of the decade, majority, almost all new vehicles will have some system like this. I mean, even now, Nissan's ProPilot system, which is still a hands-on level 2 system, that's available on cars like the Nissan Leaf and the Rogue and the Pathfinder. So we're rapidly moving towards an era of more hands-free systems. I'm not entirely convinced that it's necessarily a good idea, but the industry is doing it anyway.
People want it, I guess. I think it's going to make you safer as long as you don't think of it as self-driving, as long as you think of it as assist.
And that's the key. Having a driver monitor system that makes sure that you're staying engaged and watching the road is absolutely key. Without that, you shouldn't be doing these kinds of systems.
Nobody get in the back seat, please. No napping.
No.
While driving. Sam Abuelsamid, I'm sure you talk about this on your podcast. Wheel Bearings.
Absolutely.
Find out more, subscribe in your favorite podcast player, or go to wheelbearings.media. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Leo.
Fascinating stuff. I guess I'll have to wait till next Sunday to find out about the GT. Honestly, though, when I bought the Model X, I bought the, insane mode and all that stuff. I never used it. I don't know. I don't need all that horsepower.
You're fine with, your car is quick enough.
It's plenty peppy.
Really need the GT. Yeah.
Plenty peppy. I love my Mustang. It's a nice, if you could see it right out the window there. It's just because I park it out the window so I can see and make sure it's all right in there.
Yeah.
All right. You want to do the Sam thing and do some calls or questions?
Sure.
All right.
I can do that. So let's see what we've got here in the chat. Somebody was talking about Lucid here. The Lucid Air is now in production. Deliveries to customers should be starting.
Car.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, you guys were talking about that last week on TWiT.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to drive it yet. I've sat in it, seen it in person, and it's pretty impressive. And as you mentioned last week, the Teslas, they were priced like luxury cars, the Model S and the Model X, but they didn't really have that luxury feel to them.
No.
They felt, much more mainstream in terms of the fit and finish and the materials. And
it's like you paid for a Lexus and you're driving a Corolla, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. The Lucid, is much more luxurious feeling. It feels much more like a traditional luxury car, except that it goes there to 60 in 2.5 seconds, which is just bonkers. I mean, really, there's no need. I think we've proven the point that electric vehicles are very, very fast. The torque you get from electric motors is fantastic. We've made the point. Now let's back off. We don't need to make 1,000 horsepower, pickup trucks and sedans and all this other stuff. KWMS is asking about how watertight the battery packs are, like playing water puddles at Silver Lake and sand dunes, the drowned gas engines. So the battery packs are indeed sealed. They're completely sealed. They can go through the water. The Rivian, for example, the battery pack, like most EVs, is in the floor of the vehicle, and I think the Rivian, you can ford through about 30 inches of water, so a battery can be basically completely submerged. Similarly, Jeep has a plug-in hybrid version of the Wrangler that they make. Again, it has a sealed battery because that thing can ford through, I think, 32 or 34 inches of water, so almost 3 feet of water. Although you want to make sure that you don't do that with the doors off, because you will get a little damp. But so if you're going to go through that kind of water, you want to make sure you leave the doors on. Let's see. What do you think? The street legal version of the Cybertruck. So, first of all, I think that the design of the Cybertruck is going to be extremely difficult to pass safety regulations. The way they showed it off originally. In order to pass occupant protection standards, you basically need some crush zones. And it looks like the way they designed that, it doesn't really have any ability to crush and absorb the impact energy. So I think they're going to need to make some pretty substantial structural changes to that thing. The other problem that is I guess the real reason behind the delays is the batteries. They were counting on using their new dry-coated electrode batteries that they announced last year at their battery day. They're having a lot of problems scaling up the manufacturing of that, and they just can't make those batteries right now. So that's, I believe, is the reason for the delay.
Stick around to the top of the hour.
Yep, sure.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, not the masked singer. 8888 Ask Leo. They would know immediately, wouldn't they? Yeah. Another Ed on the line from Aliso Viejo, California. Hi, Ed.
Hey, Leo. Hey, I'm getting ready to load Outlook on a new computer.
I'm so sorry. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. Go ahead. Yes.
And I know that if I just load it on the new computer, the IMAP email will come through, but I'll lose all my folders and... No,
that's wrong.
Oh, really?
So, first of all, you can install it, but you're going to have to put in settings for your account. Do you have... Who does your email?
Cox.
Cox. So they have an IMAP server.
Correct.
Let me explain a little bit about this before we go much further. In the early days of email, you had what's called a POP server, a post office protocol server. And this was because hard drive storage was expensive and your internet service provider didn't want to keep all your email on their server. So when you might remember this, when you downloaded the email from the service provider, it disappeared on their server and it was local to you. That made sense when you only had one computer or one, you didn't have a smartphone, you didn't have other devices accessing that mail. As we got more devices, pretty soon people learned, I better turn off this switch that says delete mail from server, then I can get the mail everywhere else. But it didn't reflect what you had done on any other computer. IMAP is a much better way of doing this. It's the new modern email server technology. And the way it works is your Cox, and the reason Cox is willing to do this now, I guess, is because storage is cheap. Maybe because people demand it. But Cox keeps your mail all the time. That server, mail is not deleted off that server unless you explicitly delete it. They may have rules. You'll have to look. Sometimes they'll say, well, we're only going to keep your inbox for 90 days or whatever. Who knows? I don't know how ISPs work. But most IMAP servers, true IMAP servers, will keep that mail forever. Your Outlook or any other email client is essentially just a view, just like a web browser is a view to a website. It's a view into that IMAP server. Changes you make to folders, folder structures you set up, all of those are preserved by Cox, by your provider, and should automatically copy to any email program you install anywhere. And if in the Outlook program you make some changes to folders, it should be reflected back up to Cox. You're changing the server, not the local cache. In order to speed things up, Outlook and other IMAP compatible programs will what they call cache the emails. They'll download it so it can load quickly, because you will notice with an IMAP server, the first time you access it, it takes a while. You got to go through all your folders, get downloaded, and so forth. But yeah, if you log in, when you set up Outlook, you're going to put in the IMAP server name, the password, and the login. When you do that, it should look exactly like Outlook looked on your last computer.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. The reason I was concerned is that when I log into, the webmail at Cox, I see all my emails there, but I don't see the same folder structure as in my Outlook. And that's why I thought...
Well, that is weird, and maybe Cox isn't true IMAP. I honestly don't like using your internet service provider for email in the long run, because then you're stuck. And when you move, you're going to say, oh, don't use my Cox.net address anymore. So I really prefer to pay for email from a third party. And so I use a company called Fastmail that does IMAP. And it's the case there. I don't know what Cox does with IMAP. They may do some other things. Or maybe you had your Outlook set up not to not modify the folders on the server, but only to modify them local. You could do that as well. What you should probably do, here's a feature of IMAP that is little known, but is fairly important. In theory on Outlook, you're only going to see mail folders you subscribe to. That's so you can have folders on your provider, on Cox, that don't get reflected locally for whatever reason. Make sure, and there'll be a setting in Outlook, that you have subscribed to all the folders that you want. I bet you that's why you're not seeing what's happening on Cox. So subscribe to every folder locally. It's actually all IMAP clients do that. By default, normally they would probably subscribe to all of them, but maybe not. I don't know. Again, this is, these are variations that are unpredictable. But yeah, I suspect you haven't subscribed to every folder. It is possible to create local folders only. You probably should not do that unless you have a real reason to do it, because you want your in the computer world, they use the word canonical. I don't know why. It's a terrible word. You want your canonical, that is your single source of truth, to be the server. And then if you want to modify things locally, okay, I guess. But you want that server to really reflect your folder structure, all your rules, your filters, everything, your contact list, all of that should be stored on the server, because the idea is I have various clients. I have my phone, I have my laptop, I have my desktop. I want them all to have the same information available.
I'm going to try to work that word into my everyday language.
Canonical. Yeah, I don't get why that's why we use that in the computer. It's a terrible word. It implies that they are somehow sainted, which I don't understand that at all. But that's the word we use, canonical. Yeah. According to or ordered by canon law is the first definition. It has to do with, liturgy, with religion. I don't know why we use it in technology, but we do. It means basically the official, the one and only, the true source of the information.
For the autofills on the email addresses, every time I research, the amount of steps to try to go through to transfer that full, it's insane. Is there any simpler way?
Again, the ideal way would be for your contact list to be stored in IMAP, which is part of IMAP's capabilities. And then automatically it would propagate everywhere, it would autofill properly everywhere. Outlook, like a lot of email clients, stores it locally. But I bet you there's a way to say, copy your contact list from Outlook to that IMAP server so that it would be available every time you set up a new computer. That would be the ideal way.
Fantastic.
Yeah, store the contacts on IMAP. The reason I do that is because I also use that for my filtering. So for instance, I say if I get an email and it's not in my contact list on the IMAP server, then it's a lower priority mail. It may not be from somebody I know. It might even be spam. So put that in a less important folder. Then my true inbox folder is stuff that I get from people in my contact list. That's the ones I want to see. And then that way, whenever I get a mail from somebody that is important but not in my contact list, I can right-click on it and say, add that to the IMAP contact list. So it's a very easy way to do the filtering. Figure out a way. I'm sure there is. Again, I don't know, how true to the canonical IMAP Cox is, but if they're doing it like a regular IMAP server, then there'll be a local contact, a server-side contact list that is the one you probably want to use. That way, it's the same everywhere.
Fantastic.
Okay. Hey, a little. You got a little more than you wanted, Ed. A little explanation of the history of email. Actually, don't get me started. The history of email is long and tortuous. It goes all over the place. And I think IMAP was a big improvement. And yes, those of you who listen to the show regularly, you're going to say, okay, now here's Leo's standard spiel. If you care about email, we do, right? Email's a very important thing. I don't know why we expect to get it for free. And we use our internet service provider or Gmail or Outlook.com or Yahoo. I think if you care about email, pay for it. It's not expensive. It'd be a few bucks a month at most. Lots of companies provide paid email. And I would say pay for it from a company that specializes in email. That's what they do. They're going to do a better job of it. They're going to give you support. They're going to have more capabilities. This is not a plug for Fastmail, the one I use. They're an Australian company. But that's why I use Fastmail. I think email is important enough to pay for it. And I would submit we should all feel that way. It seems to me. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you once again the musical stylings of Sam Abuelsamid at the piano.
Thank you, Leo.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you doing this.
So, yeah, no problem. So somewhere up here in the chat, there was a question about off-road electric vehicles that you can use to charge an electric mountain bike. Actually, that's something that is coming. The Rivian that I mentioned, the Rivian R1T, is definitely a vehicle that has off-road capability. And one of the features it includes is 4 120-volt outlets. I'm not sure what current they put out, but certainly from a 120-volt outlet, you should be able to charge an e-bike up. So that's one that you could use as well. There are a lot of other. Well, certainly there are electric off-road vehicles that are coming, like the aforementioned F-150 Lightning, which has off-road capability. It will also have Ford's Pro Power on board system that they debuted last year on the hybrid F-150. That the base version gives you 2.4 kilowatts of power. I think on the Lightning, with the base version, you get 8 120-volt outlets, 4 in the front trunk, 2 in the cab, and 2 in the bed. So you could use that to easily charge up several mountain bikes, several electric mountain bikes. You could there's also an upgraded version that's 9.6 kilowatts that also adds a couple more 120s and a 240-volt outlet. So yeah, you could charge pretty much anything you want off of those. And I think most of the electric, certainly electric trucks and SUVs that we're going to be seeing will have some sort of power outlet capability in them, so that you can charge whether it's bikes or just whatever gear you want to use at a campsite or at a job site. If you're using it as a work vehicle, you can power all kinds of stuff off of there for several days at a time, depending on how much charge you have left in the battery. And these trucks are all going to have fairly large batteries in them, so I think that's for doing something like charging your e-bike, that shouldn't really be an issue for most people. Also, earlier on, there was some questions about the effectiveness of having a solar roof on a vehicle for charging. That's that's something that's been done on a variety of vehicles. Hyundai offers a solar roof option on the Sonata Hybrid. Toyota has offered a rooftop solar panel on the Prius at various times. I'm not sure if they still do, but they have in the past. Other automakers have done that. The problem with putting a solar panel on a car is, as you've noticed, the roof is rarely flat on a vehicle. It's usually got some curvature to it. Ideally, with a solar panel, you want it to be relatively flat and facing, almost as close to direct to the sun, perpendicular to the sun rays as you can. Just like with your LCD panels, when you get off the main axis, the central axis of an LCD panel, and you see it starts to dim, the greater the angle of incidence to a solar panel, the less efficient it is at generating power. I've driven the Sonata Hybrid, left it sitting outside in direct sunlight all day long. And after about 6 or 8 hours, it picked up about enough charge for about 1 to 1.5 miles of electric driving, which is not really very useful. Where it actually can be useful to have a solar panel on the car is for things like powering accessories, like the ventilation system. If the car is sitting out in the sun, as you know, the cabin tends to heat up quite a bit. So this is the way Toyota used it on the Prius, is to power the ventilation fans while the car is sitting parked, to circulate the air so you don't get so much heat buildup inside. And then when you do get back in the car, you don't have to use the air conditioning quite as hard or quite as long in order to keep it at a comfortable temperature. So this is this is what solar panels are mostly going to be useful for. To make a solar panel, really practical on an EV, you would need to have some kind of mechanism to tilt the panel in the direction of the sun in order to get that optimal angle of incidence, so that you can generate as much power as you can. But even then, you don't really have that much surface area available to you. So the amount of power you're going to get is going to be pretty limited. And then if it's raining or snowing or if it's foggy, and certainly at night, obviously, it's not going to do you any good. I think the weight penalty and the cost associated with doing that is probably going to more than offset any efficiency gains you get from it. Let's see. Somebody here is asking about charge the air conditioning. So again, as I said, you could use it to power your some of your climate control systems. And keep the cabin a little bit cooler. And then Web 9958 says he's got a backup camera that's completely wireless and has a small solar panel on to charge it. Yeah, I mean, something like that, a device like that, doesn't take very much power. It takes a lot less power. You're talking, less, certainly, probably less than a watt to power something like that. So that's not that's a practical solution there. And of course, you would also want to have a battery associated with that camera as well, so that it's storing up energy when you're not using the camera, because the camera is generally only going to be on and transmitting when you put the car in reverse, or at least that's the way it should be. Let's see. Web 7454 says, good explanation. 2-direction trackers only improve harvest about 30%. That sounds about right. I don't have the exact figures off the top of my head, but it's an area that manufacturers are looking at. They would like to do anything they can to be able to get as much energy back into the vehicle as possible, but the weight of that extra hardware, as I said, may well is going to have some offset on the overall efficiency of the vehicle, and so it's probably not a worthwhile investment for most use cases. Now, an electric truck, like an electric long haul truck, that might actually be something useful, because you've got a large surface area on the top of the trailer. You might actually be able to get something useful out of that, especially if it's a refrigerated truck, using the solar to power the refrigeration system for the trailer. That's something that could be viable because you've got enough surface area there. It's flat, so that could be workable. Recommendations for aftermarket cameras for security, accident, as well as backup for older cars without them. Snick, I will have to look that up. I don't have any off the top of my head. And I think
you hear the magic
back, so
music.
Back to Leo.
So it means it's time to say farewell to Sammy until next week. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the GT. But I'm pretty happy with mine. I think it's good.
Yeah.
We'll talk next week. Thanks, Sam.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, well, don't worry. You could still reach us, but you got to use Skype or something like that. 8888 Ask Leo. We had a call from the UK earlier today. If you listen to the show and you hear something you want to know and you want to write it down and you're driving and you got the kids in the back and the St. Bernard is licking you and you don't have to write it down. James DeRuvo has no St. Bernard. He's writing it down for you. He's our official scribe. He's putting it all up at the website, Techguylabs.com. And that's free. There's no sign up. There's no, I don't charge you. So just if you see something, there's a search there. You can actually go right to this show. It's episode 1836. Yes, we started at 1. This is the 1836th Tech Guy show. I know that's hard to believe, isn't it? You can go to the website, find that show. Each show is divided into hours, 1, 2, and 3. Each hour into segments 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's easy to find what you want. Leave comments, too, as Ed did. That's a great way to help people after the fact. Techguylabs.com. Carlos on the line from Whittier, California. Hello, Carlos.
Hi, Leo. Such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
I am an old Fortran programmer for the Apollo project.
Wow.
And I want to thank you deeply and sincerely for the marvelous content that you distribute on the TWiT network, because, Leo, you have helped me to reinvent myself as an octogenarian community college instructor. And so
that's so cool, Carlos. What are you teaching?
I want to give a big shout out to my computer information management students at Saddleback College and my computer science students at Riverside City College.
That's so neat. Saddleback, of course, a great school. So is Riverside City. And they're studying computer science from somebody who knows from day one how it all started.
I tell my students, I have all the geek and all the Aspergers in my computer science class.
Yes.
And I tell them I am the only computer science instructor they have. I am the only computer science instructor they will ever have who was born before the birth of the modern programmable digital computer, of course, the ENIAC. But, Leo, the reason I'm calling is I need to get something on your radar.
Yes.
I have a relatively new, still under warranty, Pixel 5 phone. And I should just add parenthetically, I am a whore for Google. Everything Google. My Pixel 5 phone, the battery has started expanding, and it has popped the screen off of the phone.
Yeah, they should replace that immediately because it's a fire hazard.
That's why I'm calling Leo. I have had the most dreadful customer service support from Google. I really don't know how I can buy any Pixel phone in the future. They're just based on the customer support that I haven't received from Google.
So when you go to a company and say, my battery is swelling, and has caused the screen to pop up, the back to pop up, or perhaps on a laptop has caused the keyboard to warp. The proper response for that company, even if it's out of warranty, is do not use it, unplug it, stop charging it. We are going to send you a fireproof mailer that you're going to put it in, or better yet, we're going to come and get it. You're going to put it in, you're going to mail it over ground because they won't allow that on the air because it's such a hazard. And we will replace that because it is a fire hazard and it is absolutely serious and it should be replaced. I'm very disappointed that you're getting such poor service. That is not the way they should respond.
And absolutely none of that has happened. But I will say this, after 1 week of exchanging emails, because of course you can't talk to anybody on the phone. Yeah. After 1 week of exchanging emails with someone who's on a 12-hour different time zone.
Yeah, they're probably in India, yeah.
I have received an RMA.
Oh, good.
And I have a notification that a refurbished replacement unit is being shipped to me. And then I have to return my phone within 21 days.
So they're doing the right thing. I'm disappointed it took so long. Maybe you got an idiot on the phone, or
they're not making any special arrangements for the possibility that this thing will explode in transit. So anyway, I just wanted to get that on your radar because Pixel 6s are coming out. Sounds like Google has a problem with batteries in their phones. I don't know. All
batteries do this. This is not unusual. There's going to be some percentage of batteries that are going to do it. And I'm sure you know this, Carlos. It's the lithium-ion chemistry. If it gets overcharged, undercharged, there's all sorts of ways the chemistry can get broken and cause problems, or a mismanufactured. This is the problem Chevy's having with its Bolt, a mismanufactured battery. In the case of the Bolt, they've got a tab that connects the anode to the cathode, and of course that's going to definitely catch on fire. So, battery, this is a known problem. I don't think Google has a big problem with these, but my Pixel, I'll tell you what, same thing happened to me with a Pixel 4 XL. Somebody in the chat room is saying, and that's a year older than yours, somebody in the chat room is saying Google replaced their battery. I thought, I'm going to be Mr. Self-Sufficient. I actually ordered a battery from iFixit, and they sent a toolkit with it and replaced the battery myself. But absolutely, a swollen battery, it is what happens with lithium-ion chemistry. If the chemistry's gone bad, sometimes when the battery gets old, yours is obviously not old, but it is not unusual. Swollen batteries happen all the time. The trick is how the company responds. And I think it's one of the reasons maybe it's better to buy a phone where you can bring it to the store, the phone store, and say, hey, look, because they should go, oh, let's fix it. Here's a new one.
That's the problem, Leo, when you become a whore for a company.
There's no phone store. Now, I tell you, I know what you're saying, and I agree. You've had a swollen battery. I've had a swollen battery. All God's children's got swollen batteries. But I am going to buy the new Pixel 6 because I, like you, I am a fond, I won't say the word you use, but I'm fond of Google.
Yeah. Okay, Leo.
Thank you. Hey, Carlos,
real honor to speak with you.
No, it's an honor to speak to you, and you have some very lucky students to get your perspective on all of this.
You're very kind. Thank you, Leo.
My favorite language is only a little bit younger than yours. He likes Fortran. I like Lisp. Yeah, I don't think this is. Look, this happens. Apple's had problems. Apple's actually had to do recalls. Chevy is actually recalling every single Bolt electric vehicle that they've made to check and replace, if necessary, the batteries because of this was a manufacturing error at LG Electronics, which makes the batteries for the Bolt. There is no phone. There's no laptop. There's nothing with lithium-ion batteries that some small percentage of these batteries this happens to. It's an unfortunate side effect of lithium-ion batteries. The chemistry is finicky and the battery is vulnerable. If it gets overheated, that's why you kind of should treat them a little carefully. If it's punctured in any way, then it's a real fire hazard. And I should mention that inside the batteries are well sealed for this reason. They don't want any oxygen to get in there. And inside the battery, there is a toxic stew of chemicals you don't want to get on you or in your eyes. And here's the worst part. If a lithium-ion battery catches fire, it doesn't need air to burn. It manufactures its own oxygen during the combustion. So pouring water on it or smothering, fire extinguisher smothering materials on it is not effective. This is why battery fires with these electric cars is problematic, because fire departments aren't well equipped to handle it. And I have to also say that everywhere that lithium-ion batteries are recycled, every single one of those plants has fires from time to time. And some of those fires go on a long time because they're hard to put out. 8880, it's, we live with it. We live with it, that's all. 8888, ask Leo, the phone number. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you this week by something I think super important, and I'm really glad to tell you about, Userway.org. I'm talking about making your website ADA compliant, accessible. Now, I know I completely understand, because I go through this myself. When people say to me, oh, the website, it's not accessible, I'm thinking, but you know what? Not only is it, and this is the conclusion I came to myself, that's why we use Userway, not only is it the right thing to do, right? Because you're opening up your website to a much larger group, 60 million plus people. So it's the right thing to do, but it's also the legal thing to do. You have a responsibility to make your site accessible. It's a public entity, so you got to make it accessible. The federal law says so. But I like to focus on it's the right thing to do. I'm not doing this because I'm worried about getting lawsuits, although I am. I'm doing it because it's just the right thing to do. And with Userway, it's easy. That was my biggest concern was, I can't afford it or it's going to be too hard. No, Userway is really affordable and it's really easy. So it kind of got those, concerns out of the way. It's AI-powered. It's an AI-powered solution. It tirelessly enforces all the accessibility guidelines, the WCAG guidelines. And I love this. So do our engineers. It's one line of JavaScript. That's it. You put it in. Userway can achieve more than an entire team of developers. It's because Userway is so good, it's used by more than 1 million websites. And this will encourage you, including the big guys, Coca-Cola, Disney, eBay, FedEx. These are companies that really have to be accessible. They have the resources. They need us, and more importantly, they are big sites. They need they have to scale, and Userway can do that. Very affordable for your small business. As you get bigger, they scale with you. If they can handle Disney, absolutely they can handle you. And lots of big brands. They make best-in-class enterprise-level accessibility tools available to you, your small or medium-sized business. And then as you scale, you need Userway, and you're ready. It just makes business sense. Some of the biggest problems, nav menus, very difficult. So the way this works, a browser displays to you, if you're sighted, displays the website to you, right? If you're blind or you're using accessibility tools, there is what they call an accessibility layer. It's invisible to you and me, but that's what the screen reader sees, the accessibility layer. So really what Userway does is make sure that all the information available to the front page to the sighted user is available to the browser in the accessibility layer. It changes colors. Now, you've got your Pantone color for your business. Of course, we do too. It doesn't change that, but it adjusts hue and luminance so it's easier for people with vision issues to read. Things like that. Alt tags, this is a big one. Probably a lot of people are aware of this. All images are supposed to have a text tag associated with it, so the screen reader could say, that's the Golden Gate Bridge. If you don't, you're leaving people out. There's big blocks of your page people can't understand. Readers can't see. Your users can't see. You really want to make that accessible. So Userway will generate alt tags. That's one of the reasons it needs AI. It can actually see the picture and generate an alt tag that matches the picture automatically. You can go in if you want. You can modify it, of course. It fixes violations like vague links, fixes broken links, makes sure that your website uses accessible colors, and you'll get a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed on your website so you know exactly what it did. Plus, you can work with it to fine tune if you want. But I'm impressed. You don't need to. It really does a great job, and it's great if you're using WordPress or Shopify or Wix. It's cost effective. It's easy to add. The same goes for AEM, for Sitecore, SharePoint, whatever you're using. Userway integrates seamlessly with your site builder software. Let Userway help your business meet its compliance goals, improve the experience for your users. Check out their free scanning tool. You'll want to do this to see if your website is ADA compliant. Do it right now, and you'll know why you need Userway. Just listen to what the voice of Siri has to say about Userway.
Userway is trusted by more than 1 million websites and 60 million users with disabilities. Visit userway.org to learn how one line of code can make your website accessible.
I just love the idea. Userway can make any website fully accessible, ADA compliant, and everyone who visits can browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It's a great way to show your brand's commitment to the millions of people with disabilities. It's the right thing to do. Go to userway.org/twit. This is a sponsor I really, really love. I want you to do this right now. You're going to get 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution, Userway, making the internet accessible for everyone. When they called, I said, you bet. Userway.org/twit. Please use that address and get the 30% off, but also let them know you saw it here. We want them to know. We're sending people to them. Userway.org/twit. Thank you, Userway. Now back to the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Chris Marquardt, photo guy, coming up in about 10. Meanwhile, Eric is on the line from Yorba Linda, California. Hello, Eric.
Hi, Leo. Good to talk to you. Bear with me. I'm really nervous. Your listeners are just so well-informed, just so up on all the computers and cell phones and high tech. And my question is, what can someone see or do on my iPhone while be on an unsecured Wi-Fi? My problem is about a month and a half ago, I logged on to a McDonald's free Wi-Fi to retrieve usernames and passwords off of an old phone to transfer to my new iPhone 11, and I got a message saying your password may have been compromised. Excuse me. I'm really nervous.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's just you and me, Eric. Just us talking here. No one else is talking.
I'm so nervous. I'm like speaking in front of people.
You're making me nervous now, Eric.
Sorry.
So you had two iPhones, and the passwords you wanted were on one, and you wanted to transfer them to the new phone, and you did it on a free Wi-Fi access point at McDonald's. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I logged onto the free Wi-Fi at McDonald's.
How did you get the passwords from one phone over to the other?
Well, because that's what I was trying to log.
How did you do it? Did you airdrop them, or did you cut and paste it? I don't understand how you did that.
Well, I just got into the I looked into the settings and I got the passwords off the information in the phone.
Yeah, and then how'd you pass it to the new phone? Did you do it via text?
Well, just going on the app and entering it in there.
Yeah, okay. So that's not where the compromise came from. So there's the good news.
Okay, good. Because I see that's what I was wondering. I don't know what somebody, like I said, can see or do.
Browsers now. No, you're fine. You're fine. Browsers now. Many browsers. Safari has added this capability. That's the browser you use on your iPhone. Many browsers now are checking a database of breaches. You probably hear this on the news all the time. Target data breach. The most recent one was Twitch TV, the streaming thing. Somebody got into their databases and released all the passwords, all the emails and everything. So we call those breaches because they breached the defenses of these companies, and they happen very frequently. So there's a guy named Troy Hunt who is a security researcher, and I would say a white knight. He is a good guy. Is collecting all these breaches and has created a database of breaches. And in that database is not just, hey, Target got breached, Yahoo got breached, Twitch got breached, but all of the email addresses in that breach. So that database now is being routinely checked by Chrome, by Safari. Other browsers may do it as well. And when they see you enter an email or address in a site, or they see your passwords in a site, they will say if that email, and it's, by the way, it's not the password necessarily, but if that email address is has been seen in one of these breach databases, they're warning you. Hey, you should know this account has been leaked. Or if you're on a site that has been leaked, hey, you should know this site has been leaked. So that is something they're doing for everybody. And I actually have mixed feelings about it because you see, problem number one, it scared the heck out of you, didn't it, Eric? It's like, what the hell? Was it me? Did I do it? No, you didn't do it. What they're checking against is you logged in at one point, maybe you had an account at Target or Marriott, or I can go on and on, or Yahoo or Twitch, but you at some point had an account at one of the sites that was breached, so that email address is showing up in the breach. That's all. If you're worried, then change the password on that site. Most of the time what happens, and by the way, I'll give you a way you can check this manually in a second. I'll give you Troy Hunt has a website you can use to check your passwords and email addresses against breaches. Same database. But most of the time, the passwords are leaked in an encrypted, a scrambled form that the bad guy can't use. Occasionally not. Occasionally not. And that's why the warning maybe is useful. The problem is the warning doesn't tell you. So here's Troy's site. HAVEI been pwned. Now, this is the only thing he does that's annoying
what was that last
word? What was that last word? It's not have I been owned. Owned is how hackers but it isn't owned. No, wait a minute. Hackers sometimes say if you were hacked, you've been owned. But elite hackers don't say owned, they say pwned. PWNED. So foolishly, Troy chose that as his website address. Have I been pwned.com. If you go there, this is a very safe site to use. He is not saving anything you give him. You can enter in your email or phone number right at the front page there and see if it's been in a breach. That's usually what the browser is checking. But I'm going to show you one other thing that is actually even more useful. Because really, you don't care if your email's out there. You know your email's out there. Do you get spam? Yes. Yep. Everybody does, because your email's out there. Yeah. So my browser telling me, hey, they know your email is completely worthless. What you want to know is, do they know the password? And also at haveibeenpwned.com, up at the top, there's a button that says passwords. And you can enter in a password that you've been, especially if you use the same password over and over. That's a really good one to test. Because, if you use it in more than one site and it gets breached, then trouble begins. So you can, and this is safe, by the way Troy does this, he does not send the password back to his site or anything, so it's completely safe to use. But if I enter in, for instance, there was a password I used for years, back when I was an ignorant young tech guy, that I used on many sites. Boy, when I enter that password in, this password's been seen before. So that's where you want to try that and see if any of those passwords were leaked out. It's safe. Again, don't do this anywhere else, but if you're doing it at haveibeenpwned.com, it's safe to do that. If you see the password is breached, you must change it. And you shouldn't be reusing passwords. This is really the argument for using a password manager. Let it generate passwords and remember them for you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I hope you're feeling a little better now, Eric. I don't think it was anything you did.
Well, I got a few more questions for you.
Yeah, we're off the air on the radio, so now you don't have to be nervous at all.
Now I'm more comfortable.
You're on the podcast, but that's okay. That's nice, people. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I was at a McDonald's parking lot yesterday, and I was trying to log on to some apps, and it seemed like most of the apps I was trying to use, they weren't even working.
Yeah.
So then I went onto my settings, and I noticed my McDonald's Wi-Fi was turned off. So what I did, of course, was I turned off my Wi-Fi, and then I went back to the apps that I was trying to use, and then they began working.
So what that tells you is that the McDonald's Wi-Fi at the time wasn't working properly. So your iPhone said, "Oh, I'm not going to get the data from the cell network. I'm going to get it from this fine Wi-Fi you've given me." But then, if the Wi-Fi doesn't work, the iPhone goes, "Well, I'm not getting any data here." So, do you not have internet at home?
No, unfortunately, I don't. Of course, just budgeting and everything.
I understand. No reflection on you. So yeah, if you're using public internet, it's generally not unsafe, mostly because most of the place, like if you bought something on Amazon on a McDonald's Wi-Fi, you'd be perfectly safe because all of the stuff, all the conversation with Amazon, including your password and credit cards and everything, is encrypted. It's scrambled so that no one could read it. So you're fine. I wouldn't worry about using public Wi-Fi.
That's a relief. I was being so paranoid about it, worried about somebody's being able to that's what I was wondering, what information somebody could actually see while I am on that free Wi-Fi.
Most of this, in theory, in the old days, this was a problem because in theory, now if you go to log into your email, for instance, that's not being transmitted as text. But in the old days, a lot of sites weren't encrypted. And so data was getting transmitted as text, and that's true. Then anybody who was on the McDonald's Wi-Fi with the proper, hacker software could see everything that's traveling through the air. But most sites now, almost all sites now are, and you can tell if you go to the site and you see HTTPS. S means secure. Those secure sites, nobody can see what you're doing.
Okay.
And that's going to be that's your banking site. That's every shopping site. That's your email, probably. This has all been fixed because of this very particular issue.
Okay, and if you got time real quick, I got two more quick questions. I just want to know, what would you recommend besides listening to your great show to gain knowledge about cell phones and computers? Should I go out and buy the books for dummies?
I wouldn't. It depends on how you learn best. Some people do learn best from books. These days, YouTube is a great resource. There's so many good videos on YouTube. You have to always consider the source, but Linus Tech Tips is a good one. There are a lot of good YouTube videos, and there are a lot of good blogs. Now, I realize all of this is online, which means you have to sit in McDonald's parking lot. It's not ideal.
Right. Well, no, I do. I do have the internet on my phone. I just don't have the internet, in home internet to be able to use a computer.
Yeah. So there are lots of resources. It just depends how you learn. If you like books, if you like reading, I would say you don't even need books are out of date so fast now. Just look for. There are lots of places online you can learn, and I think YouTube videos are fantastic for learning almost anything.
I'm sorry, there was one website you mentioned. What was that again?
Linus. It's a YouTube channel. Might be a little too geeky for you. I don't know. Linus,
Linus.
Linus Tech Tips. It's on YouTube.com.
Tech Tips. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pick that
He's
up.
good. There's a lot of sites like that.
I'm sorry to take up your time. If I got just one more quick question, I had a Samsung A12, and I dropped it a couple times, and the screen cracked, and unfortunately went completely black. I was curious to see if there's any way I could hook it up to a computer to still be able to
Oh, what an interesting idea!
Photos and everything.
Yeah, I don't know about that model. Some of the Samsung phones you could exactly do that. They had a feature called DeX built in. If you had the right cable, a Type-C cable. What you want to do is search to see if that phone supports DeX. Then you could just hook it up to a monitor, and it actually turns it into a computer. It's very cool. Have to run. Time for our photo guy. Thanks, Eric. See, nothing to be nervous about. Mama, don't take my Kodachrome. Or actually, first give me a film camera. Then you can have... Then I'll take that Kodachrome. Here is a guy who shoots film. He shoots wide angle. He's got books on both. He is a photo coach at sensei.photo, a podcaster at Tips from the Top Floor, my favorite photo guy, Chris Marquardt. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Film is still alive and kicking. Just as a side note, if you look at Instax, for example, Fuji's Instax format.
Yeah, that's very popular with the kids. Yeah.
That makes them 10 times as much money as they make on their digital photography.
And
that's a big cash cow.
It's basically Polaroid, right? They're instant film. And the kids love it.
It's the same principle, yes. And Polaroid is back again, so it's the film market, the analog chemistry-based film market is alive and kicking. So, yeah,
that's amazing. Meanwhile, the iPhone gets so good that you don't even need a real camera anymore. That's the story. You're going to get the iPhone 13, huh? So. We can.
The iPhone is a real camera.
It is.
And
it is.
This is pretty much its main function. If you look at especially the latest iPhone 13 Pro,
it's all
the camera is so big now.
Yes.
It's so big now.
Yeah.
It really tells you something about the importance that cameras have.
Well, you're getting the iPhone 13. I'm getting the Pixel 6, which will come out sometime this month. Their announcement's 9 days away. We can compare shots because I think they're both very good. Yeah.
All the smartphone cameras these days are pretty much equivalent. They're really good.
Yeah.
So
now, what Chris does sometimes when he joins us is picks a topic and talks about shooting that topic. Last week, your topic was black, the color black. What do you got this week for us?
Well, I was lazy. While we looked at black last week, let's look at white this time around, because it is the other side of the brightness spectrum, and it is important in photography to know what to do with white, how to treat it, the kind of intricacies there. So let me switch over to some photos here of white things and talk about a few things. We're looking at a photo of a white flower here, and if you look really close at the photo, you'll notice that even in the bright parts of the flower, everything has detail. There is nothing that is overexposed. If you're overexposed, if you get it too bright, here's an example of a flower that looks nice, but then you can see there are parts of the white petals that are overexposed. And that means there's no detail. Everything is lost. And the problem with white is if you overexpose something, that detail can get lost. You see this in white flowers. You see this in the edges of sunlit clouds, for example. If you have a photo of that, there's a good chance that the camera doesn't get it absolutely right, and that's where it's your job to help the camera a bit to what we call exposure compensate.
We call that blown out. When the white's too bright, it's blown out, and you don't see any details.
And you can really see this at those parts where there's no detail. It's just a white flat piece of the image. On your smartphone, you'll have this little sun icon next to the focus box on your screen. If you touch that and you pull it down slightly, you'll see when the detail comes back. And you want some detail in those photos. If you look at something else that is white, it's just a sheet of paper, you can take a picture of that with overexposure, and then you have no detail, but there is structure in it. Paper has structure, and you want that to be visible because that makes such a photo interesting. Paper is a very good subject to play with and to play with exposure. Just pick something, just a piece of paper that you've written something on, and point the camera at it, and then see what the camera does with exposure. Because when it's too bright, there's a good chance that the camera will bring it down too much. Camera sees all the white and goes, oh, I need to bring it down a bit. And then often it kind of overshoots there because the camera usually doesn't really know what's in front of it. And your job for these white things is to bring them up to the point where it just doesn't lose the detail. And that's something to practice. You can practice with this brightness slider. If you have a mirrorless camera, there is a dial for exposure compensation. You can use that, or on your smartphone, just swipe up and down next to that focus box. So paper, a very good place to practice that. Snow, where at least the northern hemisphere is slowly but surely going into the cold part of the year. So we will have some snow here in a couple of months, I guess. And what the cameras often do is they bring the snow down too far. And then you end up with a picture that is very gray. That's what I'm showing here. It's one of those snapshots, and it just ends up being gray and kind of dull. That's another area where you kind of want to help the camera. You want to just nudge it a bit up, a bit towards the bright, and bring that white up to be white, but not too white. Snow can go almost to the point where you lose detail, but don't overdo it. But it just looks so much nicer when the snow feels white on a photo instead of being gray. So when I'm out shooting, that's usually what I do.
That's That's one point where you might blow it out a little bit. You might want it to be overblown a little too bright. Huh?
Very close,
As close as
still
can be.
Try to keep a little bit of detail because it'll just look nicer. So another thing in photography when we talk about white is white balance, which doesn't really have to do with how bright the things are in the photo, but if they have a color tint, because a photo is mixed up of several colors, red, green, and blue, and the balance between those, the cameras don't always get right. So if you have a white balance toward the colder colors, which means more blue colors, your photos will have more of a blue tint. If you have color white balance shift towards the warm side of the spectrum, well, it will be more orange, red, yellow. Sometimes that's desired. Sometimes that's not necessarily what you want. But you can use this to play a bit with the mood of a photo, because a warmish photo with more of a yellow tint, that is definitely, well, it invokes some mood as well as some of the color colors. But let's go back to exposure. Overexposure. Sometimes it's totally fine to overexpose parts of the photo. Here's a photo of some cookies on a white table. And what the photographer has done is he has exposed it so high that the white table disappeared. The cookies are still well exposed, but the white table is kind of blown out. But that doesn't really matter because that part of the photo is not that important. And you can overexpose and give things a bit of an ethereal feeling. Here's a bouquet of flowers in front of a window. And sometimes overexposure is a nice artistic means that you can use.
That's kind of cool. I never thought about that. The cookies, probably the photographer like overlit the background, right? He wanted that to disappear.
Yes. So you can play with that. Play with this on your smartphone. If you have this cookie photo with the white table, you can actually use that and put it on a white page without any borders, and it will just disappear. Sit there nicely.
Your cookies look real. Yeah. We put all the pictures in the show notes, so you can look at his Flickr group. We also put our assignment for the week in there. What is our assignment this week?
Happy.
Take a picture illustrating happy, upload it to our Flickr group, the Tech Guy group. Chris will pick a few to review in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Happy. Oh, I'm happy. La da 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 da. You didn't get to the Labrador. These are beautiful pictures. I really love them.
It is really hard to judge up front how far.
Yeah, no, it's good to have more.
10 minutes.
I love this one. That's like the cookies, same idea.
This is very tough.
He's so black. This is very tough, right? To do. He just absorbs all the light, so you really have to put a lot of light on him.
But then you have some of the bright reflections, so there's some light coming from behind. But that's a tough photo because it really stretches through the entire brightness spectrum.
Pitch black to bright white. The histogram on that, man. Whew, nothing in the middle.
That's what we call a bathtub histogram. Yeah.
Bathtub. Yeah. Speaking of bathtubs, very pretty. These are great. Oh, look at that. Now, what happened here?
That's a very, very harsh contrast.
Completely blown out? Oh, it's contrast. Okay.
It's super high contrast. There's nothing in the middle. It's only black and white.
Yeah.
And that last one is one of those typical high key photos that just gets defined by just a few little details.
Right.
And if you print that on an inkjet printer, it's a cheap print to make because it doesn't use almost any ink.
Hardly any ink.
And on an OLED display, that's an expensive photo because it lights up every single pixel almost.
Unfortunately, the brightness through the TriCaster is a little bit too bright. So
it squashes it slightly.
It's squashing it a little bit, so you can't really see the detail in there. I'll put the.
Well, there is no real
there's
detail in.
There's a little bit of a horizon
other
and
parts,
stuff, but yeah.
Tiny little bit.
I'll put the link in the I should have done this earlier in the chat and in the show notes. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely.
Great stuff. I appreciate it. Very nice. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.
You too. See you then.
All right. Bye. Tech Guy Podcast brought to you today by my favorite place to build wealth. I tell my kids, you got to do this. Anybody young, even if you're old, you got to do this. You're saving, right? I hope you are, for college, for a college fund, for your new home, your first home, for your retirement. The best way to build wealth is not to speculate on the stock market, forget the diamond hands, the rocket ships to the moon, forget the stonks memes. Some people are going to get rich. Most people do not. The best way to build wealth is with a sure and steady strategy. The best way to do it is with a Wealthfront investment account. I am a big believer. All you have to do is look at the stats. People who day trade, people who invest in individual stocks, very rarely, fewer than 1% of day traders beat the market. Most of them lose. It's not something you want to do. But with Wealthfront, maybe it's not as exciting. You're not, betting it all on red, but you are going to build your wealth, and that's what your goal is. Save a little bit if you want to invest in the, this GameStop. That's fine. But for your real savings, investing can be very complicated. But whether you're a beginner or someone like me who's been investing for years, you're going to love Wealthfront. They have the right tools for every portfolio. You just answer a couple of questions. They'll ask you, about your risk tolerance, your time frame, what you're saving for, that kind of thing. And then Wealthfront will create a portfolio of now listen carefully, because this is the words you want to hear. Globally diversified, low-cost index funds, personalized for you in minutes. Even Warren Buffett says index funds are the best way to invest. You can build your own portfolio, too, with clean energy funds. They've got a crypto fund. They've got tech and other investments. So if you want to say, no, I really like tech, you can absolutely turn the knobs. This is the one people in my family are very interested in. The socially responsible portfolio, which is a mix of funds built around human rights, climate change, sustainability, and diversity. So you feel good about what you're invested in, and the performance is great. No manual trades, no picking stocks, no watching the stock market every day. You don't want to be doing that. Wealthfront automatically handles all the investing based on the preferences. So you control the preferences, they buy the stocks. And if you don't want to spend hundreds of hours trying to lower your tax bill, they do that too with something very hard to do, tax loss harvesting. They also, do you know about rebalancing? This is something you're supposed to do all the time, every quarter at least. Do you know how to do that? Do you know what rebalancing is? Don't worry. They do it automatically. Wealthfront now is trusted with $27 billion in assets, helping nearly 500,000 people build their wealth. And we've got a great offer for you. Get your first $5,000 managed free for life when you go to wealthfront.com/techguy. Takes $500 to get started. Don't think of it as a savings account. Just set it and forget it. Put in a little bit every paycheck. Grow your wealth the easy way. Let Wealthfront do the work for you, and you will be so amazed. The magic of compound interest. You'll be so amazed. To start building your wealth, to get your first $5,000 managed free for life, go to, and by the way, the cost in Wealthfront is very, very low, 25 basis points, 0.25%, very affordable. Wealthfront.com/techguy. WEALTHFRONT.com/techguy. It's peace of mind. It's investing the right way. This is what I tell my family, my friends. When people ask, this is the way I tell them to do it. Wealthfront.com/techguy. Start building your wealth the right way. Wealthfront. Thank you for your support of the Tech Guy Show. Thank you, Tech Guy listeners, for supporting us by going to wealthfront.com/techguy. Now, back to the show. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888, Ask Leo, the phone number. Back to the phone, Scott in Arcadia, California. How you doing, Scott? Welcome.
Hi, this is Scott.
Yes, sir.
Hi, thanks very much. I, fortunately or unfortunately, had that new Microsoft patch installed, and I think some people call it by a number 94.0.992-38 Edge on Windows, but another person in the community called it KB50013300.
So the KB is short for knowledge base. That's the web page on the Microsoft support site that describes the patch. The patch has its own number. And then just to make this even more fun, it's fixing a vulnerability which has a number, CVE 2021-37973. So there's really three different ways to talk about this patch. So is it causing you problems?
It's signed on. My Microsoft program is signed on, and I also have a Google browser, but it's signed on, and underneath my name, it has my cell phone instead of what where you punch and then you get your emails. You get your list of emails. Now the problem is I'm concerned about signing off. I've left this computer on for several days, and I didn't want to sign off and not know where to sign on with this new patch. Would my little icon at the bottom go away, or would it still be there, and then I would sign on with my same password?
All right, I'm going to try to understand. So there's a little disconnect here because I need to understand what you're talking about, and unfortunately, the terms you're using are not the accepted terms for the Microsoft thingy and the whoosy what's it. So I'm going to try. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions to try to clarify this. You're logging into Windows. Is that what you're doing?
Well,
Or are you using your Edge browser? It sounds like Edge, right?
Well, I'm on Google browser right now.
You're on Chrome, okay.
On Chrome, but if I switch over to the
Microsoft whoosy what's it?
Home,
yeah,
I don't know what browser you call that.
Yeah, Microsoft's browser in Windows. Your Windows 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that browser's called Edge.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just interpreting. It's okay. I haven't spoken with a normal person in so long, I've forgotten how.
Yeah, I'm really not. But it's called, I had Edge 365.
Oh, you have no, that's Microsoft 365. Now I know. Yes, okay, go ahead. That's Office, by the way. We used to call that Office, but
on Windows 10.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. It is kind of number heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, I left it on, and under my name, when I go to my Microsoft main
Microsoft, by the way, has completely created this problem by changing names. It used to be called Office. Now it's Microsoft 365. What the hell does that mean? And by the way, even internally at Microsoft, they can't decide if it's Microsoft 365 or 365. They've created their own nightmare.
Part of this managed Microsoft 365 family, but underneath my name, it now has
your cell phone number. Yeah. So when you set up a Microsoft account, which Microsoft calls the MSA, to make it really clear as mud, when you create a Microsoft account, you give it some information. Apparently, among other things, you gave it your phone number. That's not a bad thing to give it, because if, for instance, you forget the password or they need to verify that you are you, they will send a text message to that phone number. And so that's useful. We sometimes call that the recovery number. And I think whenever possible, whether it's Google, Microsoft, whoever, if they ask for that, you give it to them. It's not like Microsoft, and this is important, by the way, will never call you. So if somebody calls you saying, I'm Microsoft, that's a scammer, okay? So it's important to know, even though they have your phone number, they will never use it. They will never call you. It is for recovery purposes only. And that's true across the board. The only time that wasn't true, Facebook, and they got in a lot of trouble for this, started when they did the same thing, give us your phone number for recovery. They used that phone number for other purposes. And that was a big no-no. So Microsoft does not do that. So you'll never get a call from Microsoft.
And I completely lost LastPass.
Oh, no.
This is a commercial for your...
oh, no.
For your...
What? How did you lose LastPass?
I have...
You forgot the password.
No, once that program was that a patch was installed.
Oh, it stopped working.
It stopped working.
Yeah.
I couldn't change. As a matter of fact, before it was done, I couldn't change the main password of LastPass, and I thought, well, it had been about a year. I had a very complicated one, and I thought I'd change it.
You don't need to change it, but it's not a bad thing.
Change.
Yeah, that's bad. So it may be this patch you're talking about is a security patch for the browser, and it may be that it disabled LastPass because it needs new permissions. So, and
now I'm on a two-factor verification on Google.
Good.
Google told me.
Good man. Yes.
But my telephone number, the phone, the cell phone that I use, now you're going to laugh, is it's not a proper smart mobile phone that everybody has. I'm going to get an Apple phone. I have just a pay-as-you-go.
That's fine.
From T-Mobile.
That's fine.
And
can you get text messages on it or no?
Can I get what?
Text messages on it or not?
I can, and I can send text messages.
Perfect.
Of course, I can.
That's all you need.
I'm an old guy. I'm in my 70s, and I carry this around for a variety of reasons. But for one reason is if I fall or if I want to call.
Absolutely,
somebody, I just do.
It's a safety feature. Absolutely.
Why do I want this fancy?
You don't need it, Scott. Don't get it. You don't need it.
But they say with this new program, you're going to need it to sign on. That's the part I'm confused.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, this is, maybe you do need it. There must be a way around this, but Microsoft is moving.
Is going to give me, he has one, and he's going to get it for me.
You don't need a fancy one. Good. Then you're good. Here's what's happening. Microsoft also does two-factor. But they are starting to set up a passwordless world because everybody hates passwords.
Right.
And so what they want you to do is only works if you have a smartphone is put a program on there. They call it the Microsoft Authenticator. And the next time you try to log into Windows or Office, aka Microsoft 365, it'll say, okay. And now you give them your email address. And okay, we're sending we're pinging your phone.
Right.
And it'll say, and the number, the secret word is 82. And then on your phone, it opens up and says, what's the secret word? And you tap 82, and now you're logged in. No password. It's called zero sign-on or zero login.
Well, that's great. I'm happy with all of that. It's just, I don't. Well, let me just say one last thing is that I have never used a smartphone before.
Hold on, because I have to take a break. But do hang on, because I'd love to talk to you off the air. Oh, okay. Whew. Sorry, Eric, I had to take that break. But I am with you, man. I'm still here.
I didn't want to make it complicated.
Oh, it's not you making it complicated. It's the entire computer industry making it complicated.
Well, it's this new program that they
So what's your question though? What is the thing that you want me to solve for you?
Well, if I sign off, because I haven't signed on, I haven't signed off yet. If I sign off, am I going to see an icon at the bottom that looks like a Microsoft icon that I just click, and then I put in my password, and I'm going to be okay?
And you're talking about Microsoft Office particularly? Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
So first thing is,
frankly, don't know.
Don't sign off.
Right.
That's the first thing, because it won't require you to sign on periodically. If you don't sign off, it won't ask you to sign on. But should you sign off?
Yeah.
Then let's say you want to launch Word, right? You want to write something. Right. So you launch it the same way you always did. I don't know. There's an icon in the start menu, or
Right.
So you launch Word, and it will say, "Oh, you're signed off of your Microsoft account." And it will give you a window, and it'll say, "What's your email?" So that'll be the email you've been using for Microsoft, whatever, Eric at Outlook.com.
Right.
You'll enter that and hit return. Now, initially, it will say the secret number is 57. Now open the Microsoft Authenticator on your phone and authenticate. But you will then have underneath it another link that says, "I don't have my phone." And there are, in other words, there's fallback positions.
Oh, okay.
So they will then say, "Oh, okay, what's your password?" Or it might even say, "Use a password instead." I can't remember what it says, but it will say something. It will say, open your phone. But if you say, I want to use a password, it will then say, "Oh, good. All right, what's your password?" And it might, at that time, because it has your cell number, send you a text with a 6-digit number, which you'll enter, and you'll be good to go. So the answer to your question, short answer is, don't worry, they have a fallback.
Oh, okay. Well, in the meantime, I'm just going to leave it on.
Yeah, don't log out. There's no reason to log out.
And I'm going to, but it stays on beautifully.
Yeah.
I'm going to be getting an Apple phone. It has more cachet than.
Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it.
I'm gonna love it.
Do you like play crossword puzzles?
I don't do any of that.
None of that stuff.
An old guy. I watch the reason. The only reason I do it is I don't. Well, because of this patch.
But do you watch TV on it, or do you do nothing?
Listen, I don't.
You make phone calls. That's it.
I watch YouTube.
Oh, well, you could do that on the iPhone. It's kind of a small screen.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. You could do that.
I listen to radio programs. I mean, I do other things,
Yeah, but you can on your iPhone. There's iHeartRadio if you want to listen to this show.
Yes.
There's podcasts. There's a lot of audio content. I use my iPhone for audiobooks like crazy. I get in the car and a book starts immediately, and I'm listening to my book.
And doesn't it have something where it can hear you ask or question?
You can talk to it. Yeah, it has there's a little person in there.
I wanted to have something that would give me directions as to where I'm going to go.
You go, "Hey Siri, navigate to the doctor's office," and it will do that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I mean, you move into the 21st century.
I think, Scott, you're going to say, "I love this thing."
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's nice that your friend is going to give you one, because they are expensive.
Well, a friend of mine, his son, sells those things, and he showed me his phone, and it's not one of those huge phones, that everybody loves, those fancy ones. It's a smaller phone.
Yeah, they make smaller ones now, too.
And it's still in production. I mean, they still make them.
Yeah, probably the SE.
And he's going to get it for me for a very reduced price.
Oh, you're going to love the SE. I recommend it all the time. It's small, so it doesn't, overwhelm. But but it's modern, has a modern processor, and it's fantastic. You're going to love it.
Excellent.
And I have a feeling I will hear from you again.
Well, the thing is that I lost LastPass.
Yeah, get that working again.
I did print out all my passwords.
Well, that's fine.
3 weeks ago.
Good. But here's the deal with LastPass.
I did that, but I used to back it up with an external hard drive. But, of course, you don't do that often enough.
Right.
And so what is it that
Here's the good news. LastPass saves it in their cloud, so they have it. So you haven't lost anything.
Okay.
What has probably happened is with the upgrade on the browser, whether it's Edge or Chrome, this happens from time to time. They disabled LastPass until you approve it again. So you'll have to go in your extensions, and it's up in the upper right-hand corner. There's a 3-line menu. Go in your extensions, and you'll see the LastPass extension still there, but it's been disabled for security reasons. Just click on it, and they say, "Oh, okay, You still want to use this? And you say yes, and you're done. It's secure. It's just that they've changed permissions, and so they need to ask permission.
Google's put me on two-factor verification.
Yes, but this doesn't impact that one way or the other. You still want LastPass to remember the passwords. Absolutely.
And, am I on now Chrome or Edge?
Either one. In Chrome, there'll be a puzzle piece that is for the extensions that are currently enabled. You click that, and it says, we disabled this because we need permission to re-enable it. And you say, I give you permission, and it'll be back.
All right. But I'm leaving that on, too.
Oh, you definitely want LastPass, even if you're using two-factor.
Yes.
This is, by the way, Google's moving everybody to two-factor.
For a million years, and, of course, that's where DSL Extreme comes in.
Oh, good.
But anyway.
You have listened to me for a million years.
With AT&T, and they're the ones that came out and gave the cord and gave me the Wi-Fi.
Oh, nice.
And it's all beautiful. It works fine. But when that program was put in, or not program, the patch.
Yeah.
That's when everything crashed.
Oh, yeah. That's not unusual. They fixed things which broke things.
So I just left it alone for like 4 days, and finally things work. But I'm afraid to sign off, and then the little icon at the bottom will
You'll be okay. I promise they'll give you a fallback, so you'll be okay. And Scott, I have to run because we're running out of time. But I appreciate your call, and I hope with your new phone you'll call from time to time and let me help you.
Thank you so very much.
It's my great pleasure.
Okay, then.
Thanks, Scott. See ya. So Google is, this is a good topic. By the end of the year, going to enable two-factor for everybody. Scott is one of those people. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. I'm the tech guy. I'm here to help you with your technology. 8888-ASK-LEO is the phone number. 8888-ASK-LEO. That's 888-827-5536 for the alphabet challenged. You can call from the U.S. or Canada toll-free. Outside that area, it's still toll-free, but you have to use Skype or something like that. 8888-ASK-LEO. We're talking with Scott before the break. He was very baffled by all the changes. And, you know, I don't blame him at all. The computer industry is dominated, of course, by engineers. People with a certain kind of mindset, an affinity for technology. They understand it deeply in a way that normal people do not. And unfortunately, one of the things that happens with engineers, they're very black and white. I love engineers, but they're very black and white. It's either right or wrong, true or false. Very black and white. There is no gray area. And engineers say, well, for security reasons, to keep you safe, we must do this. But when they do that, they forget that not everyone has their aptitude. Not everyone understands technology, has this gut, they gut kind of deep understanding of it that they do. They go, oh, it's easy. No, it's no problem. So you put an authenticator app on your smartphone, and we're going to ping it, and you're going to get a pop-up, and you just choose the right number, and boom, you're in. Bob's your uncle. And for an engineer, they go, oh, yeah, that's great. Well, that's a good idea. For the rest of the world, they go, wait, we do what? And, not everybody has a Scott didn't have a smartphone. Not everybody has a smartphone. So there's definitely a disconnect between Silicon Valley and the way we think about technology and the way normal people do. And sometimes it's like two different languages. It's really a foreign language. So, and my job kind of is to be a bridge here between normal people and geeks. I'm a little bit of a geek. So call me out. If I say something, they go, oh, that's easy. You just do that. And you go, that doesn't, you call me out. But I completely sympathize. And Google is about to do something. In fact, it's happened. It sounds like it's happened already to Scott. That is going to cause a bit of an uproar. Two-factor authentication. let me explain what that is. You're already using single-factor authentication, something you know, which is your login and your password to get into sites, to start applications, to log into Windows, all of that. You see it everywhere. In fact, the human brain is not designed for this system, the email and the password. But that's what we use. That's single factor because it's based on something you know. There are other ways you can prove. All of this is about proving you are who you are. We call it authentication. I'm going to authenticate myself. I am Leo. Let me show you how would I prove I'm Leo to you if you're listening to the radio? How would I prove that? It might be, you might ask me a question. You might say, well, Leo, if you knew me very well, who was the name of your 6th grade teacher? That's something I know, right? And if it's something you know, you can, well, Leo wouldn't know Mrs. Candell unless he really had Mrs. Candell in 6th grade, so it must be Leo. That's one way to authenticate, right? Another way to authenticate me would be listen to my voice. Oh, that sounds like Leo. I'm pretty sure that's Leo. I recognize his voice. That's another kind of authentication. The technical term is biometrics, using something that you are, something physical, to verify who you are. And we see this on phones with fingerprint readers, that's biometrics, or Face ID, that's biometrics, or Iris ID, and even voice recognition. That's all biometrics. That's another factor. So now we have two: something you know, something you are. There's a third factor, something you have physically. So, if you wanted to know if I was Leo, you might say, well, let me see your driver's license. That's something I have. And I'd show it to you and say, oh, yeah, you're Leo. Something you have doesn't work too well over the internet because I can't really show you my driver's license. Although now we're starting to see people like Facebook say, oh, send us a picture of your driver's license to verify. If you sign up to trade Bitcoin, they'll say, well, we need to see your driver's license. So something you have is also involved. So those are the three well-known factors for proving you are who you say you are. Something in your mind, something you know, biometrics, something you are physically, and something you have, like your smartphone. So Google is turning on multiple factor authentication for many, many users. They say for 150 million people by the end of the year. Now, this is Google's go, oh, it's easy. You just, you fire up your smartphone or, and it isn't. It's confusing for people. And you heard Scott was worried. Well, what happens if I log out and I don't have a smartphone? How am I going to log back in? So many of these systems have fallbacks. Ideally, you wouldn't fall back to something less secure. Unfortunately, they often do. But those secret questions they ask, who was your 6th grade teacher? That's a fallback that, is sort of okay. As long as you don't tell people your mother's maiden name and your last 4 digits of your social and your 6th grade teacher's name. But the problem is those things kind of leak out, so they're not super secure. The sending you a text is another factor. It's something you have. You have to have the smartphone. That's your phone number. So you have that phone and you can repeat back the text you sent me. That's a good way to do it. Except that smartphones are easily spoofed, but that's another matter. Google's going to turn this on. They're going to start by requiring more than 2 million YouTube creators to protect their channels. That's reasonable because if you're a YouTube creator, you're probably somewhat technical. And it's in your interest to keep somebody from stealing your channel, so that's reasonable. They're going to start giving away hardware security keys. This is another kind of something you have. It's a physical device with a USB connector. You plug into your phone or your computer, and it spits out a long bunch of digits that prove, oh, yeah, he has that physical device. They're giving away 10,000 hardware security keys every year. Google's going to start using your Android phone as one of those devices, as like basically a hardware key, something you have. So get ready. Because, and this happens fairly frequently. Silicon Valley is about to assault normal people, assuming they can figure all of this stuff out. And I just can't wait because the phones are going to be very busy at the end of the year with people saying, what is going on? Well, now you're ready. You could tell when people ask you could tell their friends, oh, it's more than just a password now. They want another factor, either something you have or something you are. Turns out, the phone is really a good device because it is something you have, but also because it has fingerprint or face recognition. It has biometrics too, because it's really a good way to authenticate is through a smartphone. But again, if a lot of people don't have smartphones, it's very, very confusing, isn't it? So don't feel bad if you, what is going on? Scott, that's what's going on. I'm sure that doesn't help, but that's what's going on. Greg's on the line from Ontario, California. No, Canada. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Leo.
In this case, CA is Canada. How are you?
I'm all right. Problem I'm having, and I'll start this off by saying I went blind last year.
Oh, I'm sorry, Greg. How's that been?
It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but there's challenges.
Yeah.
But my main challenge is that I live in a nursing home.
Okay.
So I have limited access to people that can help me with my phone.
That's frustrating. Yeah.
They either don't know Android or don't know phones at all.
Yeah. And unfortunately, even though both Google and Apple are doing the best they can to make their phones accessible to blind people, it's still tough.
There's some stuff I can do by phone with voice, but not everything.
Right.
But the problem I'm having is earlier this week, my in-call volume went really, really quiet. And I can't seem to find a way to adjust it back up.
Do you, you're not using earbuds or headphones or hearing aids, you're listening to the speaker on the phone?
Yes.
Okay.
When I put it, I have you on speaker now and I hear you fine.
So it's when you take it off speaker, it gets very quiet.
Yeah, when I'm holding it up to my ear.
So the first thing to try is you'll know on the edge of every phone, there's a pair of switches. Sometimes it's a rocker, a single switch that rocks back and forth. Sometimes it's two separate switches. I think Samsung uses a rocker, but there'll be if it's a rocker, it's a longer switch with kind of bumps at both ends. That's the volume control. It only works while you're in the call. This is part of the confusion with smartphones is the volume control is context sensitive. If you're listening to music, it turns up the media volume, but that doesn't change the phone call volume. So when you're in a call, try pressing the up switch a few times and see if that increases the sound.
I tried that a couple of days ago. I called my mom and had a worker help me with that, and it didn't change anything.
Okay. Then it may be there's something that the phone has done to change its settings internally. This is a little more complicated. This one I can't walk you through. You have to go in the Android settings. There is a sound section. Your screen reader should be able to pick that up. Go into the sound settings. And then I'm not exactly sure. The problem is Samsung has its own menus. There is a feature Samsung has that might be involved called Adapt Sound. And that's at the very bottom of the sound settings, there's Adapt Sound. And you might look at that to see if there is anything going on. It might have changed your sound. I'm trying to think of what else. Turn off Dolby. Golly, I am not sure exactly why all of a sudden just the phone calls are low. Music's fine, speakerphone's fine.
Yeah.
Just the phone calls. Do you use hearing aids? Does it think you're on hearing aids?
No, I don't use hearing aids.
Okay. One thing to try, maybe turn off Bluetooth. I bet you what it thinks is you're on a Bluetooth headset. And it's not.
I don't even use a headset. I just use my phone on my bed.
Yeah, so you don't need Bluetooth. So make sure Bluetooth, that's also in the settings, in the connections. Make sure Bluetooth is turned off since you're not using it. Bluetooth has a nasty tendency to switch over. And I'm wondering if it's switching over to, something that it thinks you're listening to.
Yeah, because sometimes I bump things on my phone just because I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
When I pick it up, like sometimes I turn airplane mode on, and then my phone won't.
Yeah, exactly. What's wrong? Yeah. So this is another problem that can happen. In fact, Kim is saying it's happened to her. Sometimes phones, stop working well. There's two different speakers. There's a speakerphone speaker that's working. It could be that the speaker for your ears, which is up at the top there, that's different from the speakerphone speaker, which is at the bottom. That could be broken. Could have gotten wet. Could have gotten poked. Could be broken. If that's the case, there's nothing you can do. The phone is broken. You might, if you can get some headphones. I don't know if you have a headphone jack in yours. This is the strong argument for headphone jacks, frankly. If you can get some headphones, you can test this out. If you plugged in headphones, if you have a headphone jack, and the volume was normal, then that's probably the case, that the speaker on the phone itself is damaged. Unfortunately, I can't get much farther with you because I need to actually physically hold it to be able to tell you if that's what's going on. But that's one thing to try. See if you can plug in some headphones and see if that's what's causing the problem. I wish, if I could just come over, I could help you. I'm sorry. You're stuck, with people who just don't really understand the phones trying to help you. In the summertime. I wish it were summertime. We're getting some last-minute summer, right? Before winter comes. Leo Laporte. Oh, this is the Kinks. Love this song. 8888 Ask Leo. Confusing this with Mungo Jerry. Sunny afternoon. Love it. It is a sunny afternoon, at least around about these parts. Sunny inside always, right? Mike on the line. He's a truck driver right now. He's motoring through North Carolina. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Phil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed.
What's up?
So, my wife has a Samsung S10 Plus, and she loves taking pictures on the road. And I was talking to a friend of mine about getting her a camera, and he said that the new phones, like the Apple 13, would probably be better than getting her a camera. He said, I'm looking at about $2,500 to get her something decent.
Yeah, I mean, there are advantages to a standalone camera. Most of them come down to control. If she is somebody who says, no, I want to absolutely control the focus, the white balance, I want to have zoom, the standalone cameras are better for that. But and you heard Chris Marquardt say it, modern smartphones, the cameras built in are very, very good. The difference is they make a lot of the decisions. So is she the kind of photographer who likes to really fuss with her stuff, or is she really interested in the content? She wants to get the picture and move on.
Exactly. That's simplicity.
Then a smartphone is a much better choice.
Yeah, then my other question is, she's Android, and she's questioning how hard would it be for her to switch to Android?
I would, before you jump into the iOS world, she likes her Samsung S10. The S21, new one, is just as good, almost exactly as good as the iPhone. In fact, even has some advantages like 100x zoom that the iPhone lacks. So you don't have to go to iPhone to get a good camera. I would say the three best cameras sold right now, camera phones sold right now in the United States. iPhone's probably number one. You could go to dxomark.com and look at their ratings. They actually rate some Chinese companies like Xiaomi and Huawei higher, but you can't get those phones in the U.S. So I'm not gonna talk about those. The top American phone that you could buy in America is the Apple 13, but right up there, the Galaxy S series, the latest, the S21, just great. I have the Samsung Galaxy Flip. That's their folding flip phone. I'm loving the pictures on that. And if she likes Android, wants a pure experience, and maybe save a little bit money because it looks like it will be under $1,000. Google's new phones are going to be announced October 19th. It will be the Pixel 6, and Google, I think you could argue, has had the best camera phones. Absolutely the best up to now. The last couple of phones, they haven't done a lot of updates. This one, massive updates. 3 cameras, a 50-megapixel camera, big zooms. They're building in hardware an image processing unit into the phone that's going to give you amazing shots. I bet you by the time the dust settles, the Pixel 6 will be the king of camera phones. But all 3 are great. You're a very nice husband, because but it is cheaper, frankly, to buy. I think the Pixel 6 is going to start at $750.
Okay.
That's a lot less than a standalone camera.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we enjoy listening to you. We're on the road quite a bit, and every weekend, like, I'm an audiophile. I like watching TV when I'm home, and I listen to what your input is on. We really appreciate listening to you.
Oh, that's so nice, Mike. Does she drive with you?
She's my navigator.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't need Google. I have my wife.
That's really nice, because a lot of drivers, truck drivers, you know, they miss home. They're away for so long, but you get to take home with you. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. We love it. We have our fur babies with us, and
oh gosh,
spend the weekend in Knoxville, and now we're going picking up the load, going to the Miami Convention Center. It's a car show down there. So yeah,
how fun.
We love it.
How fun. You must really like each other, because you're stuck in a cab all day. But if you like each other, that's heaven.
She's my best friend. So, I love having her with me, and we set our 10-year anniversary on Wednesday.
Oh, Mike. What's her name?
Her name's Beth.
Beth. Is she listening right now?
Yeah, she is.
I am.
You're a lucky couple. So you like the simplicity. You just want to point and shoot.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Any of this top-of-the-line modern smartphones, Android or iOS, would be good. Don't be fooled by all the hype around the iPhone. It is not remarkably better. And honestly, I think the best one is, as I said, going to be the Pixel 6 when that comes out in about 9 days.
Okay, well, thank you.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, her birthday's coming up next month, so that's what I
Perfect.
was talking to a friend of mine who's a graphic artist, and that's exactly what he told me. He said, if you're going to get a camera, you're looking at about $2,500 for something decent. He said, just get her a new phone, and she loves her S10 Plus. She takes some really awesome pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Right now the weather's changing in the fall, so.
Yeah, if you're already used to the Samsung camera and everything, just look at the more modern Samsungs.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leo.
Oh, what a pleasure talking to you both. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Beth. Drive safe. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh. Hey, don't I have the best job ever, Rod? I love it, I tell you.
Every time you talk about photography, I feel like such a nudge for... I don't know how many cameras on the shelf I bought over the years.
Oh,
Canon F1, Nikon F2.
You should see. Yeah. I just basically gave up on Canon. I went all mirrorless, so I gave my 5D Mark IV, the latest 5D. Plus, I'm going to guess $20,000 worth of lenses to my son. But he's getting good use out of it, because
I got to start hanging out with your son. This is a good deal.
Yeah, they got the whole thing in a Pelican case. It's all perfect. It's great.
Wow.
And I moved to Sony, and I'm very happy. But I have to tell you, like when we go to Mexico, I'm really debating whether to bring the Sony. I have a A7R4, which is beautiful, very high, 41 megapixel, beautiful camera, and I have a lot of lenses, or I also have, and I love it, it's way overpriced, but it's so nice, the Leica Q2, which is a fixed lens, 28 millimeter f1.8 or 1.7, I guess. But it's just a great little camera to have, and it's got Leica glass. And it's just, I think for, this is going to be Day of the Dead, so it's definitely going to be a photographic bonanza. So I'm trying to decide whether I want to bring a fancy camera kit and have to bring a bag and all that stuff, or just point and shoot. It's a good point and shoot, just the Leica. But I think I might just do that.
To take a step further down and demean myself. I used to be like you, a kind of a photo fanatic, but at this point, it's like you just pull out the phone. It's so easy.
It's the camera you have.
I'm lazy.
Is really the best camera is the one that you got.
Yeah.
And there's no reason you can't get great images with a smartphone right now. I mean, a lot of my favorite images. We were at Machu Picchu. I brought 360-degree camera. I brought all my fancy cameras. Best picture I took of Machu Picchu was with my Pixel 4.
Of course.
Because
it was there and it was easy.
It was there. It's time for the Rocket Man himself, our very own astronaut floating high above the moon. Mr. Rod Pyle, he's the editor-in-chief of Ad Astra magazine, the official publication of the National Space Society, space.nss.org. Author of many wonderful books. Doing a new book with JPL, right?
Yeah. It's about 80 pages. We do it every couple of years. Well, I do it every couple of years. They took a hiatus one year. And it's, 30 of the coolest high-tech stories of that year.
Fun.
And we're still waiting for clearance, ITAR clearance, so I can't talk about it in detail yet. But
where do they sell this? Online or where?
Well, it's not for sale. It's free. So what they do is they print a number of them. They send them to NASA headquarters. They send them to Congress. I think they send them to the executive branch. So for that part of it, it's like, look, here's the stuff we're doing. Here's where your money's going.
Perfect.
And then it goes online and the public can get it. I've asked them about possibly printing it, but we haven't gotten there yet. But it's just such a cool. The stories they're short. They're like 400 or 500 words each. But the stuff they're doing there just blows your mind.
You will, I have no doubt, tell us all about it when it's available, because I can't wait.
If you got the patience,
I'm patient.
I can talk about it for hours.
We'll do it. Well, you get 6 minutes, but
So, yeah. So I got a question.
Yeah.
How far have you made it into Foundation?
I'm episode 3. I like it.
Yeah.
I know that people are not crazy about it. This is the new Apple TV Plus show based on the classic Isaac Asimov novels. And they spent a lot of money. It's movie money. $50 million an hour is the rumor. And it's gorgeous.
It is.
But it's even the novel, it's not, it's kind of turgid. It's the word that comes to mind.
The thing about, I read a lot of Asimov when I was young too, and I felt he was a little bit to science fiction books like Stanley Kubrick was to movies. His touch with humans is kind of cold.
Exactly.
And so I'm watching Foundation. I've gotten most of the way through the first episode finally.
Oh, you don't like it that much?
Well, it's beautiful. It's doing great work to look profound, but I'm kind of waiting to get swept up by some character warmth.
I don't think you're
going to. I think I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah. My favorite characters, and it's because Asimov's, they're trying, they're putting Hollywood magic on it. It really deviates quite a bit from the books.
Yeah.
So there's a love story that didn't exist. There's all sorts of stuff. But the main thing I think is the most interesting to me is the cloned emperors. I just love that part of the story. You don't, and there's an example of you don't get invested in them because there's a new one every 20 years. So, and they're all identical. So you're right. It's science fiction. It's beautiful, but doesn't have a lot of heart. I agree with you. I agree.
So William Shatner's going to space.
Yes. Did you see the interview?
Captain's on his way.
Did you see the interview with Anderson Cooper, who was giggling like a girl the whole time?
I read some of the transcript excerpts. So
Shatner is
October 12th,
90 years old. The guy is sharp as a tack. He's hysterically funny. He looks great. He looks better than Anderson does. and Cooper is obviously a Star Trek fan, so he just couldn't stop giggling. He was so excited. Shatner says, he asked him, "What are you packing?" He said, "A parachute."
He's hilarious. And it's going to be so interesting. So 90 years old. Wally Funk was 87, so he's beat her by 3 years. John Glenn was only 77.
That seems
he looked
really
every
old.
year of that.
Yeah.
That's not old. I mean, from my perspective, that's
as we get
not
older,
that far away.
Seems, that
doesn't seem old.
Yeah.
But
90 seems old to be. But I mean, there's a lot of stress, and you. How many G's do you experience? 4, 5, 6?
I think three or 4. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is, and it's a small rocket, so it goes up pretty fast, so that ramps up pretty quickly. But, you're in a couch that's made specifically for that purpose, so he's not going to be hurt. What I'm waiting for, of course, I mean, this is the biggest ham flying since Ham the Space Chimp, right? So I'm waiting to hear those well-spaced words when he says, as I know other people have alluded to, "Do you see that out the window?" that gremlin out there tearing up the life support system.
Oh yeah, that was one of his early roles on the Twilight Zone, way back when.
1963.
So
which is a great episode.
They've postponed his flight. By the way, they've postponed his flight. It's going to be the 13th now.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think it's high winds at the launch site they're worried about. So,
well, that makes sense.
This one you want to be safe.
Yes.
It'd be very bad press.
You don't want to be responsible
to lose
for killing
Captain Kirk.
Right?
Very bad press.
Well, and you want to make sure you don't foul up the new record. Did you read about that?
No.
He's planning to write a new spoken word song about his journey. So it'll be like, you remember.
Picture
Rocket Man,
yourself.
Rocket Man.
In a boat on a river.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be good.
So, but the thing is, if you did that when you were 45, people kind of went, huh, what? That's odd. You do that when you're 90, they go, he's still so vibrant.
Yeah.
And the great thing is you and I are reaching that point in our lives where, if we go on a river rafting trip, it's like, oh, look at them. They're still doing that in the 60s.
Aren't they precious?
Yeah.
Bless
so that
their
gets you
hearts. Those old guys. No, I love William Shatner. He has transcended Captain Kirk. He is his own character now.
He has, and he's learned to parody himself, which is a really rare skill.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the Saturday Night Live bit he did where he's at a Star Trek convention. He finally just breaks down and says, "Get a life."
He got a lot of flack for that. Since we're on TV,
yes.
Did you have a chance to watch the Inspiration 4 documentary?
I haven't finished it, but prior to the launch, I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm now in the third. It's great because
that's what I did. Same thing exactly. I just watched the last ones, and I thought, this is so masterfully made for everything. Because I'm pretty harsh on space documentaries usually, but the score is great. The moments they captured. And, of course, once you get into the flight, now we're finally able to see all the stuff that was going on that we didn't see what was happening, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just wonderfully put together. And the only thing I don't know if they plan to do one more installment. I don't think so. But there's a little, I think there could have been more on the post-flight, and the ramifications of that and the public relations tour and so forth. But in terms of following it through launch and splashdown, it's already done, but I was still grabbing the edge of my seat because they did it just right.
And it's important to remember, even though this is going to be space tourism and civilians are going up and so forth, it's still risky and dangerous. This is not you're strapping a giant bomb to your butt and flying high in the air. You recommended, I want to make sure we get this in before we wrap up, because you sent me an email for a documentary about Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that, because it's on Vimeo now. You can watch for free. What's it called?
It's called
Secrets of the
Solar System.
by Ben Harding, and it's about Mars. You're in it.
It's a couple of episodes that Harding did. There was a variety of directors, I think. I was only in the Mars episode, which is why I sent it to you, because I wanted to show off, right? But it was, I thought, just exceptionally well done. It was a couple of years ago. It's out of the UK, but the amount of heart in it, because space documentaries tend to be kind of boring most of the time.
Yeah.
They're big and splashy and wonderful, but they begin to feel the same after a while, unless it's Cosmos or something, huge image like that, huge budget. This was fairly small budget, but I thought especially the motion graphics and the music that he selected, of course, the people he chose to talk about it, were just wonderful. And you really felt, when Gil Levin, the guy who did that life science experiment on Mars that ended up being called out for being wrong, and we're still not sure it was or not. But when that poor 93-year-old guy is talking about how it broke his heart and he starts to get a little teary, so do we.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was great.
So
I'll send you a link.
little stuff to watch. We will put the link in the show notes. It's on Vimeo. You can search for, if you are on Vimeo.com, which is free, Secrets of the Solar System - Mars by Ben Harding, and look for Rod Pyle in there. Thank you, Rod. Space guy. Leo Laporte.
Okay.
Tech guy. Roger. A-okay.
So I'm crawling like an infant through my studio build out. So at least now I got a green screen and I got the cable and all this junk.
Dude.
So what's left is I got to bail on this cheap microphone.
I don't know. It sounds fine. I don't think you need to bail on it.
Well, I already have the Shure.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't put it up because I don't have I had one of those cheap arms that you get for $40, and I said, okay, I got to spend some real money. Leo wouldn't like it if I got a cheap arm. So I ordered one that was, I don't know. Yours was probably $1,000. I think the one I ordered was $130 or something. But
I
it's still
found a
better.
good arm. If you already bought it, I won't send you the link. But I found a good arm on Amazon that I've been using that I actually really like.
Is it? Does it look like the normal one we're all used to, or is it the one with the internal springs?
No, it's not internal springs because I don't trust those. To be honest with you, they always seem to, unless you spend a lot of money. The internal spring.
I can't actually see what you're looking at.
No, I know. I'm
going
to find it. No, okay. I haven't yet. I haven't logged in. My Amazon for some reason has logged out. I got to log into.
Whoever logs out of Amazon?
I know. I don't
waste
know.
a lot of time when you're buying 3 things a day.
And then I got to log into Bitwarden first, so that I can get my Amazon password. Because God knows I don't remember that. And then I got to log into that, and I got to press that. And so it's going to take me a minute here. There we go. Amazon. Because I have to. Now I have to do the one-time password.
Oh, good
See,
Lord.
2-factor. What a terrible idea.
Yeah.
There it is. Right.
Oh, security. What a terrible waste of time.
What a terrible idea. It just slows you down.
It does.
I just did a long explainer on 2-factor earlier this hour. All right, and then I'm going to go to orders, and I'm going to go to mic stand, and I'm going to search my orders. It was the InnoGear. Adjustable microphone stand with a weighted base. For the Shure, it would be perfect because the Shure isn't that heavy. And
but
you already got one.
Springs and shock mounts and
that's
all
why
that junk
I got
on
it.
Oh,
and this
it's $26.
Yeah. You know, it's great. But anyway, you already got yours.
InnoGear. Well, I mean, I don't have a problem getting 2. Though I forget the name of the one I ordered, but it's an internal spring unit, which may not be great.
And that's what I'm using here.
It had desk clamp and a mount. Oh, okay. So you've got.
Yeah, this is the Pyle, and it's probably pretty expensive. But the problem, see, for me, I don't need. And you probably know, you're going to put the microphone and it's going to stay there.
Yes.
This is so you can go and you're not going to do that.
So you can do your Bill Handel bit where you're jumping around. Yeah.
So
no, I just sit in one spot,
right?
So that I don't go off green screen.
Normally I don't like table stands because they will telegraph the desk movement. But this one's been pretty good. The base is very heavy. Anyway.
See, the thing I love about the way you do business is you get the stuff that's right for the job and enough for the job, like SpaceX, and you don't fart around just buying equipment because you love more equipment.
Alex Lindsay recommends a mic stand that literally is thousands of dollars. And it's beautiful. He says, you see it everywhere in radio stations now. I was like,
does it have like negative frequency damping in it or something? What does it do?
It's some special thing. I don't know. I don't even remember the name because I don't want to. Hey, I got to run. Thank you, Rod. Thank you for letting me be your geeky guide to the modern world of technology. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director. Always have fun. She tries to stump me, tries to play songs. I don't know what they are. Sometimes she does too. She's good. She always has just the right song for the occasion. Thanks to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel. So glad she's back. She took last week off, missed her, but she does such a good job getting you ready for your appearance on national radio. Mostly, I'd like to thank you for listening and calling in and all the kind words and so forth. I'm very lucky to get to do this. It is a dream come true. I was talking to Micah, my young friend who someday may take my place. We'll see. And I said, this was when I got in radio. This was my dream. This was the pinnacle. This is, and I think it's true for anybody in radio, to get to have a national show where you get to talk to people from all over the country, all over the world about something you really love. Man, there's no better job. So thank you for letting me do this. I appreciate it. It sounds like I'm saying goodbye. It's just goodbye for the weekend. I'll be back next weekend, I promise. Daniel on the line from Riverside, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hello, Daniel.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to find a cable that transfers from my phone to an HDMI.
So it depends on the phone, but a great many phones will do this. Of course, the key is that the port on the phone has to send out video. Not all do. So it just really is going to depend on the phone. What kind of phone do you have?
It's a Moto G Play, the new one.
Okay. So Apple, for instance, on its iPhones, they sell a Lightning to HDMI cable because their Lightning port does have video on it. You have a Type-C port on your Moto.
Correct.
I'm going to presume that it has video on it, but it just depends on what Moto put in the specs for that port. If it has video on it, probably there's any standard USB-C to HDMI cable would work, but it's really going to come down to let me put it this way: if Motorola sells one, get that one. The good news is USB-C to HDMI is not expensive. So you should be able to find, like $16. Anchor makes one, for instance. And Anchor makes good stuff. $16. The only issue is if video signal is on that port coming out of the Moto. So, go to GSM Arena or go to the Motorola page, go to somewhere, look at the specs. You just want to know if they put video on that outbound port. They don't have to.
It says it has a display port option, but
perfect.
I can't, but it hasn't worked. So, I've a couple chords, so I'm kind of getting frustrated.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So display port means that's interesting. It says display port. That sounds to me like it's USB-C, not Thunderbolt out, which would make sense. What you want to get is a USB-C video cable. A lot of these USB-C to HDMI are for Thunderbolt, which is a different kind of video coming out. So you want to have one that says compatible with USB video.
Okay.
I bet you that's the issue. This is, my friend Alex Lindsay hates Type-C. He says, this is terrible. I said, no, it's a great specification. No, he says, it's terrible. I said, why do you say it's terrible? He says, because you don't know. You can look at it, and you cannot tell from looking at it what it can do. No, that's why it's great, I say to him, because it can do so many things in, the USB-C group that makes this, that does the spec, says you should have an icon on every cable that tells you what the capabilities of the cable are and an icon on every port that tells you what the capabilities of the port are. Nobody does that. So it's not USB-C's fault. It's just that USB-C just looking at the whole doesn't tell you anything about what it can do. It would be nice if they'd put those icons on. Then you'd know. You got to get the right kind of cable. You got to have the right kind of port. So you got to do some digging. You got to do some research. If it puts out DisplayPort, then you should be able to find a USB-C to HDMI cable that supports DisplayPort. I think Thunderbolt, I don't know if Thunderbolt's the issue or not.
Okay.
You got to get the right.
Wi-Fi or Verizon, because
No. You don't. No. Don't go to the expensive guys. Get something. Go to Amazon or Monoprice, and because they're $10, they shouldn't be more than a couple of bucks.
Yeah, this is going to cost more than the whole setup.
No, it shouldn't. It should be $8 or $9. The problem is figuring it out, and I think you really should start at the Motorola end. If it's got DisplayPort coming out USB-C, DisplayPort is a digital standard compatible with HDMI, but you want one. So really, it's not. It's going to be the cable, HDMI cable, and mini DisplayPort USB-C adapter. Yeah, I'm looking. You could actually get DisplayPort out and then get a DisplayPort to HDMI, but I don't think you need that. I think what you want is one that can understand DisplayPort. Yeah, I'm looking $15 on Amazon, USB-C to DisplayPort. That's full size, but they also have USB to HDMI that supports DisplayPort. Here's even one that has dual HDMI coming out because you might want that. It's just a question of getting the right cable. You already know the phone will do it. You just got to get the right cable. And it has to support DisplayPort. DisplayPort to HDMI. Similar, both digital technologies, but different in other ways. Welcome to the wonderful world of computer cabling. Believe it or not, it actually was worse in the old days. It's better now. Believe it or not. Fred's on the line, our last call of the day from Fraser Park, California. Hi, Fred.
Hey, Leo. I've got a question about UPS.
Okay.
Not the people that deliver packages, the battery backup for computers. It's been a while since I've looked into them. What do they go for? What kind of wattage can they take? And how long will the batteries carry you for?
So this stands for uninterruptible power supply. And just as you say, it's kind of like a power conditioning device or a surge protector, but it's got a big old battery attached to it, lithium-ion battery. And the idea being, if the power goes out, your computer or device stays on. This is very important. There's an instantaneous transfer to the battery. In fact, the best UPSs run off the battery all the time. So there's no transition at all, no drop in power. And then how long it will survive depends on two things: how much wattage you're drawing, how many things connected to it, and how big the battery is. So there are a number of companies that make these. Probably the best place to go is APC, which makes UPSs and has a calculator on its site, apc.com. And the calculator is great to use because you tell it all the things you want to back up. And remember, everything you add is going to require more juice. And then it'll tell you how much battery you need to last how long. But let me tell you a couple of things I would say look for in a UPS. I use CyberPower, another company that I think is very good. Triplite makes these as well, and APC is probably they've been around forever. You want one that's going to condition the power. In addition to protecting you if the power goes out, you want a smooth sine wave. Very important. That's a lot of electronics gear does not like dirty power, so smooth it out. And you want one that is running off the battery. Now, the battery's going to wear out every year or so. You're going to have to replace it. That's normal. But if it's running off the battery, it gives you better conditioning and better failover. Most of these companies offer insurance. If you have a hardware failure because of lightning strike or whatever, nothing can protect you against a lightning strike. But I think for critical equipment, and I include TVs, home theater as well as computers, it's really a good idea to have a UPS. There's some of the names. Do the calculator. Get one that's big enough to give you the time you need. I really don't think you want to operate for hours. I think of it as just time to shut down in an orderly fashion. That's what I look for. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.